So I watched this movie about a 100-year-old pedo who watches a teenage girl sleep every night. Oh, so this is the new Bill Cosby documentary. What? Nah, mate. It's bloody Twilight. Ah, right. So the movie starts with a girl named Bella talking about her dream way to be unalived. Wait, what? Nah, it's not like that. See, she's just upset that she's moving to Phoenix. Well, that seems a bit dramatic. Well, this is actually the least dramatic thing that happens in this movie, so buckle up. Okay. I'm ready. So anyways, Bella's chosen to go live with her policeman dad in a small town in the state of Washington called Forks. Wait, so she's chosen to go there? Why is she complaining about leaving then? You know, that part's not really clear, but it turns out her hippie mum has decided to go travelling around the country in a van with her new boyfriend who's apparently hung like a horse. They actually describe how big her boyfriend's penis is. Nah, but it's heavily implied because her mum's always limping. Gross. So we get the gist that her old man Charlie, he's not the most observant bloke, you know, because he doesn't know his daughter's favourite colour or notice when she cuts her hair. So, well, this was written by a woman, remember? Fuck, he's in trouble then. Anyways, then he's lurking in her room, and the next minute he's outside talking to an indigenous fellow in a wheelchair called Billy Black, and he's in an entirely different outfit for some reason. He's indigenous and in a wheelchair. Yeah, I know what you're thinking, but this film was actually made before diversity mandates. Interesting. Anyways, Bella goes downstairs to talk to him, and Billy Black's son Jacob, he's just staring at her like a frat boy with a pocket full of roofies. That's creepy. Oh yeah, and her old man is pretending to beat up the guy in the wheelchair in the background. What the hell? Yeah, it's never really explained. Anyways, the whole point in this scene is that her old man, Sea-Dog, bought a new car from Jacob's old man, Billy Black, you know, the guy in the wheelchair that he just beat up, and it's to give to her. There's so many things wrong with that sentence that I don't even know where to start. Anyways, next up, she's at her first day at school, and immediately an Asian bloke who's dressed like the lead singer of My Chemical Romance offers to write a front page article about her in the local school paper. And then the head jock of the basketball team, Mike, totally hits on her in front of Anna Kendrick, who clearly has the hots for him. Why is everyone so obsessed with this girl already? Because this is supposed to be a boring teenage girl's fantasy where everyone just wants to bone them all the time and they're more popular than Anna Kendrick. So every teenage girl's fantasy is to be more popular than Anna Kendrick. I think so, yeah. Anyways, Bella tells this really joke and then it's lunchtime.
Aren't people from Arizona supposed to be like really tan?
Yeah. Maybe that's why they kicked me out.
And while they're in the lunchroom, Mike the jock and the My Chemical Romance guy, they're fighting over who likes Bella more, right? They only just met her. Yeah. And then some random black dude says, "She's mine!" Then he kisses her on the cheek and just runs away giggling. Jesus! Does she call the police? Nah, she just laughs it off, even though it's technically sexual assault. Okay, so what happens next? Well, a group of kids dressed all in white who are clearly part of some sort of cult walk in, and they're called the Cullens, right? The Cullens. So they're like a family or something? Yeah, and it turns out some of them are totally banging each other. Great, so we're about 10 minutes in and we've already got incest and sexual assault. What happens next? Well, this is the big moment, right? Edo walks in, and all the girls start leaking from the gash onto the floor so much that the cleaner has to go and get a new mop. Edo. Edward Cullen. And yep, there's a reason Edo rhymes with pedo, but we'll get into that later. Jesus Christ. Oh yeah, and I forgot to mention that Edo is actually played by the same actor who plays Sedo in Hazapotto. I am so lost right now. Anyways, he starts staring at Bella from across the room like P. Diddy stares at a bottle of baby oil. Gross. And then next up, she goes to science class where she walks in front of a fan, and Edo, he like blocks his nose like she's got thick skid marks in her undies after Taco Tuesday. We've all been there, right? Too right. Anyway, she sits right next to him, even though he thinks she stinks like wet shit on a hot road. And then, after class, Bella sees Edo complaining to one of the teachers, right? Saying that he wants to move classes. Ah, because she smells like secondhand tacos floating in a toilet left in the airport bathroom. Exactly, and she's pissed, right? Because she doesn't think she smells that bad. Clearly she does. So later that night, she's talking to her deadbeat mum, who apologises that she hasn't called in a while because she's been too busy banging her new boyfriend, Long Dong Silver. Really? She actually says that? Nah, but it's heavily implied. Anyways, she asks Bella if she's fitting in at school. And then Bella cracks a massive hissy fit and hangs up the phone. Well, that seems a bit dramatic. Dramatic is this film's middle name, remember? Anyways, she keeps thinking about old mate Edo. Why is she suddenly so obsessed with this guy? He's literally the only guy who hasn't thrown himself at her since she got there, so I guess that makes him attractive or something? Sounds like this girl Bella has some unresolved mental issues with her dad. Also, what kind of message is this sending to young women? I guess the lesson of the film is go out with a guy that treats you terribly? That seems like a pretty message. Oh, you better believe it is. Anyway, she's stalking Edo now, right? Because she wants to know why he isn't creaming his dax over her just like everyone else is, right? But get this. What? He stops showing up at school, doesn't he? He does not! Wait, who cares? I don't know, but it's a big deal to her for some reason. Anyways, next up we see a construction worker get murdered. Hang on. What? Yeah, it's pretty jarring. Some real tonal whiplash going on in this film. Also, it's PG, so the camera just kind of swings away whenever anything violent happens. That sounds like pretty lazy filmmaking. Oh, you better believe it is. So Sea Dog, her old man, he's put on the case, right? And apparently there's been like this string of animal attacks around town recently. It's vampires, isn't it? Yeah, it's totally vampires. It's presented like a mystery as well, but we literally saw it in the last scene. So I don't know what they were thinking there. Anyways, the next day she's in chemistry again, and you'll never guess who's there. Probably Edward. I mean, he's on the poster, right? Yeah, that's right. But get this, he's being super nice to her now. And then he asks her about rain for some reason, and she's like, no, I don't like rain or cold things. That's weird. So it turns out that she hates rain even more than Anakin Skywalker hates sand.
I don't like sand.
So now old mate Edo, he's trying to figure her out, yeah? And she tells him about her mum and how her stepdad has a huge penis. Really? Why would she do that? Well, no, she doesn't, but it's heavily implied. So next up, Bella. She's in the car park, and Edo, he's staring at her harder than Harvey Weinstein stared at every woman he ever employed. Gross. Then the black guy, who kissed her inappropriately on the face and should probably be in jail, loses control of his car and crashes into her. Wait, why the hell was he driving so fast in a car park, and why couldn't he stop the car? Were his brakes cut or something? Oh, don't worry, none of this is explained. But get this, the reason she wasn't crushed by the sex pest's car is Edo stops it with his bare hands. Holy crap, right? And he looks super nervous, like he doesn't want people knowing that he has super strength and super speed, right? Really? So what does he do? Well, he just walks off at regular speed, doesn't he? Which means everyone in the car park probably saw him. Is this ever explained or dealt with? Oh God, no. But get this, when she's in hospital, right? None other than Dr. Cullen comes in to check on her. Oh, the cult leader whose kids are banging each other. That's right, but turns out he's super chill. So he's a nice cult leader. Yeah, maybe. Sure, why not? Anyways, after she gets out of hospital, Bella hears old mate Cullen and his wife grilling Edo, right? About staring at women inappropriately? Nah, mate. They're grilling him about saving Bella's life. Okay, so he's a nice cult leader who wants Bella dead, even though he just treated her. Yep. Anyways, Bella calls Edo over to her, and then she grills him as well. Wait, she's upset with him for saving her life? Yeah, apparently. And she asks him how he ran so fast and stopped the car with his bare hands. But Edo, he totally gaslights her, and he tells her to just shut the hell up and never talk to him ever again. Is this guy the hero of the story, or is he the villain? I feel like in any other movie he'd totally be the villain, but no, he's supposed to be the good guy, apparently. Weird. So anyways, Bella has this dream about Edo standing over her bed, watching her like a serial killer. Oh my God. Yeah, but apparently she's one of those chicks that faps it to true crime podcasts, because apparently this dream made her wetter than the movie Deep Blue Sea. Is that the one where Samuel L. Jackson gets eaten by a shark? That's the one. I love that movie. Yeah, me too. Anyways, Bella gets asked to the prom by Mike, right in front of Anna Kendrick, who looks gutted. And then Bella makes up some bullshit excuse about going to Jacksonville on a bus because it's clear that she wants old mate Edo to ask her instead. Oh, does he ask her? Nah, he doesn't, because while they're on a field trip with like the only teacher we ever seem to see in this film, Edo decides that he doesn't want to be friends with her anymore. This guy is all over the place. Also, when did they become friends? No idea. Well, how does Bella handle that? Well, she says that she wishes that he just let her get crushed by that car. Wow, she is dramatic, isn't she? You're damn right. Anyways, that My Chemical Romance kid shows up, and then he shows her his worm. He shows her his worm? Nah, it's a worm from the compost, not his cock, mate. Oh, okay, go on then. So, the next day they're at lunch, and My Chemical Romance invites her to come with Mike the Jock and Anna Kendrick to La Push, because apparently they're all friends now or something. What's, La Push? Is he, like, constipated or something? Nah, it's some beach that people like go to hang out and surf and whale watch or something like that. Anyways, Edo, he's on the other side of the cafeteria and he's staring at her harder than a priest stares at an altar boy who's in the confessional booth. Gross. Then Bella drops an apple because the script told her to, and Edo does this super sick hacky sack move and gives it back to her. Wait, I thought he didn't want to speak to her anymore. Yeah, but now he does. I feel like this is an abusive relationship. It really is. Anyways, Bella asks him if he's Spider-Man, and then she tells him to come.
Come.
So next up, they're at La Push Beach, or whatever the fuck it's called, and old mate Jacob's there, right? Who's he again? He's the son of the Indigenous fellow, you know, the one in the wheelchair that Bella's dad beat up for no reason. Oh, okay, go on then. So she mentions that she invited Edo to the beach, and two of Jacob's mates freak the out, and they're like, the Cullens aren't welcome here. They're not welcome in a public beach? What? Well, that's the thing, right? We jump cut to Bella and old mate Jacob walking along the beach later on, and she's like, why would your mates say that the Cullens are not, welcome here? And then he's like, oh, you caught that, did you? Even though the guy said it to her face literally a scene ago. Is that intentionally bad writing, or is that just bad writing? It's just bad writing, mate. Anyways, he tells her that the beach is part of his tribe's reservation, and his tribe and the Cullens have a family feud that dates back over a century. Okay, well, what does she say to that? Well, she asks why they hate the Cullens so much, right? And then he just gaslights her and tells her to shut the up, it's just a story, and never to speak to him again. That's a bit rude. Go on. Anyways, the next scene, we see one of her dad's mates get killed by a vampire in a small boat. Mate, I'm getting tonal whiplash again. Same here. There's also this really crappy effect where they blur the vampires for super speed, but it somehow makes them look slower than regular speed. Wow, that is shit. Yeah, so next up it's like the first sunny day they've had all year, and Anna Kendrick tells Bella that the Cullens always disappear whenever it's nice weather. So no one in the school has put 2 and 2 together and thinks that maybe they're vampires. I think this is like one of those special schools or something like that. I guess that makes sense. Next up, Bella decides to walk through a dark and seedy back alley at night for no reason at all, and then she's surrounded by some creepy men who want to R-word her, which is like a really weird thing to throw into a PG movie, but whatever. Why is it nighttime now? No idea. Anyways, Edo does this super sick Tokyo drift move around the corner, and then he gets out of the car and he's like, "Get in." Does he mess those guys up? Nah, he just stares at them for a few seconds and then he drives away. And how did he get the car there so fast? He must have been parked right around the corner. It's kind of creepy, right? Yeah, super stalker vibes, right? What's even weirder is that he says he could hear the dude's thoughts and that they were more messed up than the videos you see when you get to the bottom of the Pornhub timeline. Oh, that is messed up. Yeah. Anyways, next Bella and Edo have this dinner thing, right? Which is supposed to be super important because, you know, he finally confesses everything to her. Wow. But it's literally got some of the worst dialogue I've ever heard in my whole life.
You gotta give me some answers.
Yes, no. To get to the other side.
Oh my god. Anyways, he says to her that he's really protective of her and that's why he's been following her everywhere. So she calls the police right away, yeah? Nah, she's kinda into it. Man, this chick has issues. Anyways, he tries to prove that he can read everyone's minds by saying that everyone in the restaurant is just thinking about sex. But the weird thing, right, is that he can't read her mind. Why? Does she have like special powers too? Nah, I think she's just such a boring character that she literally has no thoughts in her head. Okay, yeah, that tracks. Anyways, he drives her home and it sounds like he's going way too fast.
Just put your seatbelt on.
Put your seatbelt on.
Then she goes to change the radio, right? And she accidentally touches his hand. And you're never gonna believe what happens. What happens? It's only bloody cold, isn't it? Who cares? Well, yeah, I mean, who cares? But she made such a big sook about how she hates cold things, remember? Oh yeah, that was weird. Yeah, super weird. Anyways, they drive past the police station and all the cop cars are there. And Bella's concerned that her dad is still working, so she makes him pull over. And then Edo's dad, Dr. Cullen, he comes out too, right? What's he doing there? Well, apparently he's helping her dad examine his mate's body, and he reckons it's just another animal attack. So Bella, she goes to comfort her dad, who's having like this huge sook. I mean, that is fair enough. His mate just died. Yeah, it's probably the only genuine reaction in the whole film, to be honest with you. Anyways, Bella sees the body being wheeled out into an ambulance because reasons, I guess, and she sees the bites on the body and she starts to suspect old mate Edo, doesn't she? Then there's like this huge cliche montage where she Googles vampires and it says that they're super strong and they don't like bright sun and they can read minds, blah, blah, blah. Then she has this super sexual dream where they both look like emos or members of Good Charlotte and he's drinking her blood. That took an unexpected turn. Yeah, it really did. So next up, there's like this super dramatic scene where she looks at Edo from across the schoolyard and he somehow knows that she wants him to follow her into the forest to explain himself. Hang on, I thought he can't read her mind. Nah, he can't. So how does he know to just follow her into the forest? No idea. Also, I feel like the last thing you'd do if you found out someone was a vampire and suspected that they'd murdered 3 people is walk into the middle of a forest alone with them, right? She's mental. What's she thinking? Anyway, he's like, say it out loud. And she's like, vampire. So then he grabs her like really violently and then he throws her on his back and runs up a hill, which might be the single worst effect that you see in this entire movie. Oh, that is terrible. Anyways, he steps into the sunlight and his skin starts sparkling like diamonds, doesn't it? Wait, what the fuck? I thought vampires died in the sun. In this franchise, they just sparkle. That's kind of lame. Yeah, so no one's ever seen him sparkle at school or anything? Yeah, like I said, it's one of those special schools, so everyone's too busy drooling into their bibs to notice anything. Anyways, he tells her that she's like his own personal brand of heroin, which is like a super weird compliment, to be honest. And then he starts throwing a bunch of trees around. Why? I don't know, he's trying to show that he's dangerous or like really passionate or something. I'm still a little concerned about how into this dude Bella is. He grabs her aggressively, he's emotionally unstable, and he's mean to her. Are the rest of the film's just her in therapy dealing with her daddy issues? Nah, that never happens actually. Anyways, then we get probably the worst inner monologue in cinema history when Bella wakes up and walks to her window thinking this. About 3 things I was absolutely positive. First, Edward was a vampire. I mean, he just told her that. Not exactly great detective work. Second, there was part of him, and I didn't know how potent that part might be, that thirsted for my blood. And third, I was unconditionally and irrevocably in love with him. This chick needs to be committed. At this point, she's a danger to herself and others, right? Anyways, the next day, Bella and Edo, they rock up to school as a couple for the first time, and like the whole school stops and stares. Why? No idea, but apparently it's like a really big deal because they really milk this scene for all it's worth. Anyways, after school, they're chatting and he tells her his origin story. Wait, so he is Spider-Man? No, like his vampire origin story, mate. He says that Carlisle Cullen saved him from dying by biting him and passing on his powers. So his full name is Carlisle Cullen. This dude kind of does sound like a Spider-Man character. I know, right? Anyways, he says that he and the Cullens are like vegan vampires. They choose not to eat people, except they're like less annoying than normal vegans because they don't stop traffic or throw blood on people who are just ordering Maccas. I thought you were a vegan. Yeah, I am. Shut up. Anyways, he says that his sister can predict the future and that there are other vampires out there that do kill people, which is why people have been turning up dead, right? His sister can predict the future? What the f? Yeah, they really breeze over that one. It totally comes out of nowhere. But apparently her predictions, they never come true. So it sounds like her powers are totally useless if you ask me. Maybe his sister just has psychosis. Anyways, next up, old mate Wheelchair and Jacob rock up to her house again. And they give Edo the old stink eye, don't they? Why do they do that? Well, because they're obviously werewolves and they don't like vampires, do they? Yep, makes sense. I mean, none of this makes any sense at all, but go on. Then Edo, he takes Bella to meet his folks, right? And they're cooking up like this big meal to welcome her. I thought vampires didn't eat real food. No, they don't. It's supposed to be a funny scene, but it's totally not. Anyway, she said she already ate, and this chick Rosalie, she gets angrier than Russell Crowe when he threw that phone at a hotel clerk. Dude, that's such an old reference. No one's gonna get that. F off. Anyways, he takes her to his room, and she freaks out because he doesn't have a bed. Oh, right, because he doesn't sleep. Again, it's like supposed to be funny or something. No, that's not funny at all. Then he shows her all his graduation hats, and he says it's like this family joke because he's graduated high school so many times. And that doesn't like freak her out at all? That he's lived so long that he's basically 100 years old and a pedophile and trying to seduce a 17-year-old girl? Nah, it doesn't, because he's hot, I guess. Yeah, I guess, but still, so many red flags. Right? Anyways, then he pushes her out a window and calls her a spider monkey. I'm not even gonna ask why this time. Good, because they never explain it. So next there's this super long and boring montage of them falling in love that I think goes for about 6 hours. 6 hours? Yeah, at least it feels that way. I kind of got bored and started checking my phone. Anyways, we cut to Bella's dad and he's trying to track the wild animals that killed his mate, and he discovers that it has human footprints. Then that jock Mike, he grills Bella and he tells her that he doesn't like her dating Edo because he just looks at her like she's something to eat. Wait, so he knows Edo is a vampire? Nah, it's supposed to be clever dialogue, but I feel like it's just super clunky and weird and no one would ever actually say that, you know? That's a super weird thing to say. Then, to really emphasize that tonal whiplash point, her dad, after being asked by his mate's grieving widow if he's found the killer yet, starts to try and get his daughter to go out and date some boys. So he's like trying to pimp out his own daughter. I mean, the movie's trying to play it off like he just wants her to have a normal life, but yeah, it really does just come off that way. Anyways, then Bella's on the phone to her deadbeat mum, and she tells her that she met a boy called Edo. And her mum starts asking her if she's using condoms. So one parent is trying to hook her up with random boys, and the other one wants to buy her condoms. These two parents are way too invested in this girl losing her virginity. Yeah, it's really weird and off-putting, but what's even weirder is that Edo has been in her room the whole time watching her on the call. So she goes to the police, right? Nah, she just totally kisses him, doesn't she? Jesus Christ. Yeah, and then it looks like she's totally down to bone him, but then he flips out and jumps off the bed halfway across the room. Why does he do that? No idea. Then he just does that blue steel look from Zoolander and he's like, I can't ever lose control with you, Bella. It's kind of lame. Yeah, it really is. So then she falls asleep and he just watches her all night. You know, the same way Jeffrey Epstein watched celebrities bang children on his freaky island. Ugh, creepy. Then the next morning, Edo wants to formally introduce himself to old mate Sea Dog, her dad, to make it all official. But for some weird reason, even though he was totally trying to pimp her out like 2 scenes ago, he doesn't want her dating Edo, right? Really? Does he know Edo's a vampire then? No, just straight up hates the cunt. And to make it even more intense, he's cleaning a gun the whole time while he's talking to him. I mean, Edo is a massive creep, but he doesn't really know any of that, so I feel like this is kind of an overreaction on his part. Yeah, a huge one. So next up, she plays baseball with Edo the pedo's family, doesn't she? Baseball? Yeah, and this might be the worst sequence in the whole movie. And I think the producers of the film kind of knew it, so they tried to make it less by playing a Muse song over the top of it. Oh, which one? You know, Supermassive Black Cock? It's Black Hole. So anyways, the song about supermassive bumholes plays while there's a bunch of really terrible special effects of everyone running really fast and hitting the ball like crazy long distances. And then Bella gets that angry Rosalie chick out in the game, which seems impossible because she's got super vampire speed. Anyways, Rosalie's spewing now and hates her guts even more. I did not follow any of that. Good, because none of it matters. Anyways, the game is interrupted by the 3 vampires who've been killing random around town, isn't it? Uh-oh. You're damn right, uh-oh, because the Cullens, they have Bella with them, don't they? And now they're worried that the bad vampires might discover they're vegans and cancel them on social media. Why would they cancel them? Yeah, or kill them. Whatever, I wasn't paying attention. Anyways, Bella, she's up shit creek without a paddle because she's surrounded by vampires and she has to trust one group of vampires to protect her from another one. Why does she keep putting herself in such dangerous situations? No idea. Anyways, turns out the other vampires just want to join in on the game of baseball or something. But then one of them smells Bella's vagina from all the way across the pitch and he wants to eat her out. You mean drink her blood, right? Yeah, that's the the one. Anyways, they do this super lame thing where they all crouch and stare at each other like dogs for a while, and then Edo speeds Bella away in his car. Yeah, but can't he run really fast though? Yeah, it probably would have been much quicker to do that. I guess they just wasted all their VFX budget on that baseball sequence. So anyways, Edo the pedo tells Bella that he read one of the vampire's minds, and he's like obsessed with hunting or something. So now he's going to track down Bella's scent all the way to her house. Wouldn't that just lead him to Sea Dog? Yeah, exactly. So Bella's like, we have to go and save my dad. And Edo's like, shut up Bella, you're on your period and I can smell it because I'm a vampire. Gross. So then it cuts to Bella storming into the house telling Edo it's over, and her dad is like, what the going on, Bella? And she's like, I'm leaving. What? Yeah, no idea. Even I couldn't follow this bit. Then her and Edo, they're upstairs, and Edo's like, you've got to lie to your dad and tell him that you're leaving. Why? Your guess is as good as mine. So her old man is more confused than I am, and Bella storms out of the house, and you're not going to believe this. One of the vampires from the baseball game, he's watching them from the trees, the same way P. Diddy watches people tied up in his basement. Why do you make so many P. Diddy jokes? Because the guy's a Anyways, old mate Sea Dog, he's like, you can't leave in the middle of the night, you bloody pelican. Let me take you in the morning. And Bella's like, oh my god, shut the up, Dad. This is why Mum left you. You're so boring, and her new boyfriend has like a massive penis. She really tells him that. Well, no, he doesn't, but it's heavily implied. It's heavily implied, right. So anyway, Sea Dog, he's gutted that both his daughter and his wife have left him, and the P. Diddy vampire watches her leave the house. So then why did she have to hurt his feelings to keep him safe? No idea. You can even tell the actors don't have a clue why it happened. So now we're heading into the finale, right? And the Cullen cult vampires, that's a mouthful, they're preparing for a fight. And for some reason, the leader of the other vampires, he turns on his two mates, and he rats them out to Carlisle Cullen. The dude with dreadlocks is good now? Yeah, I guess so. I mean, he still murdered a bunch of people and we never see him again, so fuck him. Doesn't really feel like it has anything to do with the plot, right? Anyways, the Cullens make a plan where Bella is going to leave with Edward's sister, whose psychic powers, you know, do all. And that Rosalie chick who hates Bella, she's going to wear her jacket so that the vampires follow her instead of Bella. Why would Rosalie do that? She hates Bella more than Jeff Bezos hates paying taxes. Yeah, well, that's what I thought, but old mate Carlisle Cullen, Peter Parker, or whatever the his name is, says that Bella is with Edward so that she's part of the family now or something. That makes literally no sense. You're telling me. Anyways, there's a bunch of shots of Bella driving away and the bad vampire with the blonde hair smelling the air like he loves the smell of farts or something, and then Bella, she arrives at a hotel. A hotel? Like just a basic hotel. Just a basic hotel. Don't the vampires have like a castle or something they can hide her in? I'm not really sure the budget of this film could have swung a castle, mate. Anyways, Alice, you know, the chick who has visions, she actually has a real one now. And the vampire that's tracking them has changed course and he's gone to a ballet studio, hasn't he? A ballet studio? What the fuck? Apparently, Bella did classes there when she was a kid, and I had no idea how the vampire knows that actually, or why he decided to change course and go there instead, but none of that really is ever explained, so don't worry about it. Feels like they're really rushing to the end, aren't they? Oh, you better believe they are. Anyways, Edo calls her and he's like, I'm gonna send someone to protect your dad. I'm sorry, Bella. I'm gonna do whatever it takes to keep you safe. I mean, this is kind of all his fault already, right? It's the least he could do. Get this, the blonde vampire who's tracking him, he calls Bella, right? Oh no, he has her dad, doesn't he? Nah, he only has her bloody mum, doesn't he? And she's like, help Bella, help me, you dirty slag. Oh, so now Edo has put both her mum and her dad in danger. Why does she even like him again? I guess because the script told her to. Anyways, the blonde vampire, who probably has a name but I can't be looking it up, tells her to meet him at the ballet studio. And that if she brings any of the other vampires, he's gonna kill her mum. So why is this vampire so obsessed with her all of a sudden? Because in this movie, everyone's obsessed with Bella for absolutely no reason at all, and now so is this guy, apparently. Makes sense. No, it doesn't. Anyways, Bella is in the car and she's having this inner monologue about how she never gave much thought to her own death, but dying for a loved one feels like a good way to go, right? But this is all kind of bull because the movie literally starts with her thinking about her own death. Yeah, that's true. Seems like a pointless thing to say, really. Yeah, big time. Apparently she's like, I don't regret that I'm going to die because I got to meet Edward. You mean the guy who's been nothing but mean to her and put her entire family in danger? Yeah, that's the guy. Anyway, she goes to the ballet studio and there's a TV in the cupboard with old family videos of her mum on it. Wait, so it's like a fake out or something? Yeah, she was never there apparently. Then how the hell did her mum talk to her on the phone before? Yeah, it's never explained. Anyways, the blonde vampire, he wants to film her death, like how Hunter Biden films all his sexual exploits, right? Gross. Because he wants Edo to see it, doesn't he? Also, I'm not sure why he hates Edo so much. They literally have only met once for like 3 seconds, but you know, whatever. Anyways, you'll never guess what happens next. Edo turns up to save her, right? Yeah, I mean, it's pretty obvious that was going to happen, right? But get this, old mate blonde vampire, whose name I can't be learning, bites Bella before Edo can get to her. Oh, right? So Edo, he's pissed, and he's about to rip the blonde vampire's neck out, but Carlisle McCarkyle, or whatever the his name is, he's like, no, Edo the pedo, remember who you are, this isn't you. Because the Cullens, they don't kill, do they? Yeah, exactly. So then he gets Alice, Edo's sister, to kill him instead. What? I thought they didn't kill. Yeah, apparently except for Alice. Maybe he doesn't care about Alice. I don't really know. Anyways, everyone is freaking out because Bella's bleeding and they really want to drink her blood because being a vampire vegan is hard or some shit. Then Carlisle MacDonald, he's like, you've got two options. You can let her turn or you can drink the venom out, mate. I feel like it must be way too late for that though, right? Yeah, I mean, the venom would probably be coursing through her entire body right now. So then they make this whole big deal that Edo the pedo might not be able to control himself if he tastes her blood. So Carlisle, he's not going to let him do it, right? He does it because he's done it before. Nah, he just totally lets him do it. What? He almost goes too far and it's supposed to be dramatic, but we all know she's going to be fine because she's on the poster. Anyways, she wakes up in hospital and her mum's there and she says Edo's been sleeping by her bed the whole time. I thought he never sleeps. That's why he didn't have a bed in his bloody room. Yeah, apparently they forgot that they wrote that, or he's just faking it maybe, but neither of which make any sense at all. And you better believe it's never explained. Jesus Christ, when's this gonna end? Ever, apparently. Anyways, Bella apologizes to her dad for Edo's plan, and then Edo says he's never gonna leave her side again or something like that. I feel like if he really loved her, he'd just stay the hell away from her. Yeah, true. Anyways, Jacob, remember the kid whose dad's in a wheelchair and her dad beat him up for no reason at all? Well, he creepily walks out of the bushes and he's like, my dad paid me $20 to tell you to break up with your boyfriend. What? Why didn't he just tell her himself? No idea. Anyways, this scene is totally sequel bait where it's gonna be wolves versus vampires or some shit. Then Bella dances with Edo at the school prom and she says she wants to be a vampire just like him so that they can be in love and live forever or something like that. Because she really likes his sparkly skin and apparently he's circumcised and she prefers that. She actually specifies that. It's not said, but it's heavily implied. And then Edo tells her to shut the f*** up and that he's not going to turn her into a vampire. So they kiss and then he turns to the screen and he says, if you like this video, leave a comment and watch the next one. There's no way he says that. No, this is me now. I'm doing the whole YouTube thing. Oh, right. Go on then. No, mate, that's it. Piss off, everyone.
What the Edward?
So I watched this movie about a 100-year-old pedo and a secret group of people who are trying to control the world. Oh, so this is the new Jeffrey Epstein documentary. What? No, mate, it's bloody Twilight New Moon. Anyways, remember how the last film was really poorly written? Yeah. Well, this one's worse. Bloody hell. So the movie starts with a full moon. And no, I'm not talking about that old man Jasper that lives down the street and likes to show his ass to oncoming traffic. Yeah, that guy's got really weird balls. I'm a little concerned that you've looked that closely, mate. How could you not? They almost touched the ground. And next up, we see Bella running through a crowd of people dressed like Little Red Riding Hood. What's going on? Have I missed something? I think you should probably hold your questions till the end of this sequence, mate, because holy shit, will you have a lot of them. Jesus Christ. Go on then. Anyways, she runs past all the rip-off Red Riding Hoods and she sees a big clock. She sees what? A big clock, mate, not a big cock. Oh. Go on then. Anyways, next up she runs into an empty meadow and a creepy old lady is staring at her from across the field. But get this right, Bella recognises her as her own grandma and she goes to walk towards her, but old mate Edo shows up and his skin starts sparkling more than those blood diamonds that rich wankers wear that are dug up by starving kids in South Africa. Are we supposed to know her grandma? She wasn't in the first film, was she? Look, I told you to wait, mate, because it gets even weirder, I promise. So now there's a mirror in the middle of the field and when her and her grandma move, their actions are mirrored, but not in the mirror, in like real life. I am so lost right now. But then get this, Edo, he's like, happy birthday, Bella. But he's talking to Bella's grandma, not bloody Bella. So Edo is banging her grandma? Well, I don't want to spoil one of the few surprises this series has, but you're not far off, mate, trust me. Ugh, gross. Now, I'm pretty sure this was all supposed to be a dream sequence because Bella wakes up next to a copy of Romeo and Juliet and the red hoods from the dream are featured on the front cover. Well, that makes a bit more sense. Yeah, but later it's actually revealed that it wasn't a dream sequence. Really? So we're left wondering if Bella can predict the future or if it's just, you know, bad writing. I'm gonna go with bad writing. I think you might be bang on there, mate. Anyways, old mate Sea-Dog comes in. And guess what? It's only her bloody birthday, isn't it? And Sea-Dog, he's got her a camera and her mum got her a scrapbook so she can document the memories of her senior year. And then he starts going on about how he can't believe she's grown up so fast. Oh, he's a cute dad. Anyways, Bella's like, shut the hell up, Dad. I'm not like that old, you piece of shit. Jesus, seems like a bit of an overreaction. Yeah, well remember, Bella either has no emotional personality at all, or she flips out like a psycho for no reason. Oh yeah, true. That was made pretty clear in the first film. Anyways, Bella's driving to school in her piece of shit car and there's a news report about some animal attacks in the area. So she just ignores it and flicks the radio to some music instead. Wait, didn't we already do this plotline in the first film? Yeah, but they're out of ideas, aren't they? So they're stealing from Shakespeare and their own movie now. Fair enough. Anyways, Bella gets to school and her mates Mike, Anna Kendrick, My Chemical Romance, and that chick who's barely given any lines in the first film are there. But get this, Edo rocks up. and he walks out of his car in slow motion. Why does he always rock up in slow motion? Yeah, I think it's supposed to look sexy, but I also think that the director was just kind of padding the runtime to sell more movie tickets. Also, Bella's friends, they all kind of hate Edo now. When did that happen? No idea. Anyways, he rocks up and they have this playful banter about how he's 109 years old and she's freshly 18 with a tight and brand new vagina that smells like a car air freshener. So she calls the police and reports him, right? Nah, looks like she wants him to take out his 109-year-old sausage right there in the playground and suck it like it's a super duper. Americans won't get that reference. But get this right, Edo, he goes all cold and he totally loses his boner. And then he's like, someone wants to see you, Bella. Oh, that's mysterious. Who is it? Well, remember Jacob, the guy whose Native American dad in a wheelchair, Sea Dog, beat up in the first film? How could I forget that? But you won't believe this. He's not a nerdy looking kid anymore, is he? He's super jacked now. Why is this a big plot point? No idea. Anyways, Bella looks straight at his crotch lump and Jacob's like,
well, I'm just filling out, Bella.
And then he unzips his cock and it hits the ground so hard that it creates an earthquake that's like 8.0 on the Richter scale. Jesus, he really did fill out. You're telling me. And then he's like,
come, take a ride.
I feel like she might need to stretch first. Yeah, big time. Anyways, Jacob, or Jay Dizzle, he's banging on about how his res school is so much better than this Povo public school she goes to. And then he's like,
they let any old riffraff into this place.
Which you can tell is totally aimed at Edo. You know, because he's a 109-year-old man who is endlessly going to high school just to bang underage teenage girls. I mean, that's fair enough, right? Also, who still says riffraff? People in PG-13 movies, that's who. Anyways, he's like the billionth person to say happy birthday to Bella, because remember in the Twilight universe, Bella's like the sun and everything kind of revolves around her and her boring personality. It's kind of weird how everyone knows it's her birthday. Isn't this before social media and cell phones? I struggle to remember even with the reminders. Yeah, well that's because you're a useless Anyways, Alice, remember Edo's pretend sister who can see the future but also can't really see the future and probably just has psychosis? Maybe? Well, she gives Bella a birthday gift saying she saw the future and she was going to wear it tonight. And then her boyfriend Jasper makes Bella depressed with his vampire gaslighting powers. Okay, I feel like I'm losing my mind here. Did we know he had those powers already? Nah, mate, of course not. Jesus Christ. And how long is this film again? It's 2.5 hours. For sake. All right, let's get this over with. So we cut to class and the teacher, he's making the kids watch a porno called Bonio and Juiciette. You mean Romeo and Juliet? Yeah, that's the one. And all the girls, they're like leaking from the gash because they love that romantic crap. And the My Chemical Romance guy, he's crying. Which is supposed to be funny because apparently in this universe, men aren't allowed to show vulnerability without being a total joke. Romeo and Juliet is not a porno. It's a classic play. It's a tragedy. Anyways, Edo starts gasbagging to Bella at the back of class while they're supposed to be paying attention to the porno, right? And he's going on about how it's a shame he can't unalive himself and how he's jealous of humans who can. Jesus Christ, that's dark. So does Bella end the relationship and call the police right away? Nah, mate, she only bloody loves it, doesn't she? What the f is wrong with this girl? Her dad seems normal, but her daddy issues are way off the charts. No idea. Maybe her mum dropped her on her head when she was a baby. Based on what we know about her mum so far, I wouldn't put it past her. Anyways, he said he wanted to unalive himself. Remember in the first film when she almost died? And then the teacher gets so sick of Bella and Edo each other that he calls Edo out to see if he was paying attention or not. Oh, shit. So he gets caught out. No, mate, he only bloody recites the porno line for bloody line, doesn't he? Because he's been going to school for like 100 years and he's a giant pedo. Oh, yeah. That's right. Anyways, Bella, she loves this, right? And her vagina squirts so hard that it floods the entire classroom and then everyone drowns in her piss. Gross. Also, that would be her cum though, right? Not piss. Nah, I looked it up. Apparently when women squirt, it's just piss. You learn something new every day. Anyways, Edo and Bella are now in some old gallery for some reason, and he starts telling her about this ancient family of pretentious vampires called the Voltari, who are apparently like the government for vampires? Really? Yeah, apparently they enforce the law by making sure vampires keep their existence a secret. And if you don't, they just rip your head off and kill you. Ah, so they're like the North Korean government. I'd say they're probably a smidgen better than the North Korean government, but yeah, basically. Oh yeah, and remember Carlisle Macaulay Culkin, Edo's fake dad, who's also a mortician, a doctor, and I'm pretty sure a Spider-Man villain? Yeah. Well, apparently he lived with the Voltari for a while as well. I see. Seems like a weird detail to just throw in there, unless it becomes important in the film later on, maybe. Usually that's the case in films, except in this franchise, it's usually just bad writing. Ah, I see. Anyways, Bella asks Edo to turn him into a vampire so she can protect him from the North Korean vampires, but he tells her to piss off and go sit on a greasy fat one. Gross. Then Edo's fake sister Alice, you know, the one who can see the future but totally can't see the future and probably just has psychosis, well, she's thrown a birthday party for Bella, you know, with the rest of Edo's fake family. And get this. What? A bloke called Emmett Janet, who barely had any lines in the first film and is dating that chick who hates Bella more than Jeff Bezos hates paying taxes, well, he whispers to Edo, dating older women now. Nice. Does that mean Edward has dated even younger women than 17? I guess so. And how is this guy the hero of the story? Because apparently every teenage girl's dream is to date a rich, good-looking 109-year-old pedo and to be more popular than Anna Kendrick. I guess so. What happens next? Anyways, Bella accidentally cuts herself on her present, because she's useless, and all the vampires skits out worse than a junkie who's just smelt some crack rocks. Why do they all freak out? Well, remember how they're all vegan vampires, because they don't eat humans? So they just eat like tofu shaped like a human or some like that? Yeah, I think so. Vegans. Aren't you a vegan though? Yeah, I am. Shut up. Anyways, it's really hard for them to resist blood when they see it. Harder than it is for P. Diddy to resist buying baby oil when he's shopping at Costco. They really are struggling not to eat her then. Yeah, especially a bloke called Jasper, who is apparently the most recently turned of the bunch. So he kills her, and then the lesson of the franchise is f around with vampires and find out. Nah, mate, Edo saves her by throwing her across the room into a table filled with sharp and pointy glass that cuts her up worse than O.J. Simpson cut up his ex-wife and then walked away free for it. Jesus Christ, that doesn't sound like he saves her at all. I know, right? What a dickhead. Anyways, he's pissed at himself for hurting Bella, and then Carlisle, J. Jonah Jameson, he patches her up, and he tells her that the Cullens, they're all going to hell, right? And that's why Edo won't change her into a vampire, because he doesn't want her to lose her soul. So the Cullens are religious now? No idea, it's never explained. So now Edo and her are in the car, and she's given him the hard sell. She said she listened to Richard Dawkins' The God Delusion on Audible, and she thinks all that soul stuff is a bunch of shit anyways. I mean, she's kind of got a point. I know, right? Anyway, she says it's still her birthday, so all she wants from him is one kiss. But get this, he jizzes his pants before their lips even touch, so Bella, she has to go upstairs and finish herself off. Gross. So now, she's pissed at Edo, right, because he refuses to kill her, and he gave her the female equivalent of blue balls. Blue flaps? Exactly. So then she folds a photo of her and him in half to make it look like he's dancing alone. And why does she do that? Mate, your guess is as good as mine. Anyways, Edo, he goes into her room looking through all her things while she's at school, because he's a fucking psychopath like that, and he finds the picture. So now he's pissed at her too. And why is he pissed? No idea. So he tells her they can never see each other again, and then he packs up his whole family and moves town. Seems like a bit of an overreaction. Yeah, I think he's like super embarrassed that he jizzed his pants and now all the other vampires are calling him ice cream dick. Yuck. So now Bella, she's gutted, right? Because she literally has nothing else going on in her life right now. Yeah, that's true. What does she even do when he's not there? Dunno, she stares at a wall, I think. Yeah, that tracks. Anyway, she's so upset that she wanders into the woods alone, and then she falls over crying and just decides to sleep there for the night. In the middle of the woods? Yeah, mate, don't ask why, because they never explain it. Anyways, Sea-Dog, he's already got a search party ready to go out looking for her, which seems a little extreme because for all he knows, she's just out with her mates. It's only been like an hour. Yeah, that is odd. Right? Anyways, Jay Dizzle and his Native American dad in the wheelchair who Sea-Dog beat up, they're there and they're ready to help start looking for her. But then get this. A dude wearing just boxer shorts carries Bella's unconscious body out of the woods and hands her to Sea-Dog. So a dude who is basically naked carries an unconscious woman out of the woods. That is not a good look. No, it is not. So then Sea-Dog arrests him on suspicion of molestation, right? No, mate, he just says thank you and then they never mention it again. What the f? I know, right? Anyways, Bella, she's so cut up about Edo leaving that she sits in front of the same window for about 3 months. Really? So she literally does just stare at a wall when he's not around? Well, technically it's a window, but yeah, pretty much, mate. Does she at least go to her bed to sleep? Yeah, but when she does, she wakes up screaming like she's being chased by Bill Cosby. Holy shit. Oh yeah, and she stops talking to her friends as well. Why does she do that? No idea, but Sea-Dog gets so worried about her that he's like, Bella, this shit is whack. There are meds for depression now, or I can recommend some electroshock therapy, and maybe that'll even help give you more of a personality. I mean, that's a bit harsh, but worth a try, right? Yeah, exactly. She really needs a bloody personality. Anyways, instead, he tells her she's just gonna go live with her mum because he's kind of worried about her and she needs to move the on already. I mean, I get it. Heartbreak sucks, but this kind of feels like she's got some real mental problems outside of that, Oh yeah, big time. Anyways, to convince Sea-Dog to let her stay, she agrees to go to the movies with Anna Kendrick, who's a bit pissed at Bella because she hasn't talked to her for about 3 months. No call for months and then just expecting to hang out on a whim. I'd be pissed too. Yeah, exactly, but because Anna Kendrick is a loser, she just totally agrees to it. Anyway, she sees those creepy blokes from the first film who wanted to R-word her. Remember the ones that Edo saved her from? Oh, the ones he just stared at and then walked away from. Yeah, those guys. Anyway, she's thinking, maybe I'll try and go get R-worded again, and maybe that way Edo will come save me. That is a terrible plan. Yeah, you're telling me. It's so bad that Edo's ghost appears in front of her and tells her to pull her bloody head in. Wait, Edo's dead now? I have no clue, mate. In the first film, we established he couldn't read her mind, and now he can project a ghost into her thoughts? It broke my brain when I saw it. So basically I've just given up trying to understand that. Okay then. Anyways, she wants to test it and see if this ghost thing is real, right? So she goes and gets on the sex pest's motorbike. But get this, the ghost keeps telling her to bloody stop. Wait, so she gets on the motorbike of a guy who tried to R-word her? Yep. Yeah, that actually happens. I really hope that she gets the help she deserves. She's not well. Yeah, she never does. Anyway, she goes to old mate Jay Dizzle's house and she asks him to fix up these 2 motorbikes. And why does she have motorbikes now? Because reasons, I guess? So she expects him to fix up 2 random motorbikes for free? He barely even knows it. Well, they're bloody best friends, aren't they? But they've only talked like 2 times. I know. Shut up. So what happens next? Well, he agrees to help her because I guess he was doing all with his day before that. And then she makes fun of him because he's 16 and he's way younger than her. I'm not really sure she's one to criticize about age gaps. I know, right? She's a full psycho. Anyways, then they have some playful banter that feels worse than going to the dentist and asking him to pull out all of your teeth with no anesthetic. Hey, didn't your dentist actually pull out your wisdom teeth with no anesthetic? Yeah, I'm pretty sure he was drunk. Also, he kind of operated out of a camper van, so now I'm doubting that my parents even took me to a dentist at all. Yeah, I'd look into that. Next up, 2 of Jay Dizzle's mates rock up and they give him for talking to a girl, and apparently one of them, he's banging his cousin. I feel like that's a really odd point to just breeze past. Yeah, I know. So anyways, there's this long montage where you see Jay Dizzle and her working on these 2 bikes for months. And then Bella has some lame voiceover where she's writing a fake letter to Edo's fake sister Alice or something like that. And she's like, there was like a hole in my chest after Edo left me, but now I'm like hanging out with Jacob and it's like totally gone. Or some like that. So she literally just dates the next guy she sees and she's totally fine now. Yeah, it seems that way. What even is this movie? I'm starting to wonder if this is actually a movie or something they invented to show to people who are prisoners of war in Russian torture chambers. Yeah, I think you're right. Anyways, Bella turns down Jay Dizzle and she says that dating him would make her a cougar, and then he's like, what the fuck are you on about, Bella? You're dating a guy who's 109 years old. You've got some real hang-ups about age. You need some help. I mean, that is incredibly accurate. So what does she say to that? She just goes into a depression cycle and starts screaming in her sleep again? Seems totally rational. Go on then. Well, next up, Jay Dizzle and Bella, they're driving and she sees a bunch of shirtless guys fighting on a cliff and then one of them bloody falls off. Jesus Christ. Does she go help them? Well, that's exactly what Bella says, right? But then Jacob, he's like, they're just cliff diving, Bella. Sam and his friends, they're adrenaline junkies. Ah, so they're addicted to adventure, not to drugs. Nah, mate, they still do tons of drugs. And apparently the leader, he's got some beef with him for not joining their gang. When are we going to get back to the whole vampire North Korean government plot? Yeah, no idea, mate. This whole film kind of feels like a side quest so far. Anyways, Jay Dizzle and Bella, they finally have got those bikes working. And then Bella goes to ride it, but you'll never guess what happens. Edo's ghost thing comes back? Yeah, how'd you guess that? Mate, I have no idea. I feel like I'm weirdly starting to understand this crap. Kind of like a movie equivalent of Stockholm Syndrome. Yeah, I think I know what you mean. Anyways, Bella gets on the bloody bike and she starts fanging it, right? And Edo's ghost, he keeps showing up every few meters trying to get her to stop. And then Bella, she gets so confused that she flips off a bike and slams her head into a bloody rock. Jesus Christ, does she go to the hospital? Nah, mate, she only wants to get back on the bloody bike again, doesn't she? This chick is a psycho. Jacob needs to call someone to restrain her. I know, right? Isn't the goal of Edo's ghost thing to protect her? It's totally failing at that, right? I mean, it made her fly off that motorbike. Yeah, and I'm pretty sure she has internal bleeding now. Anyways, Jay Dizzle, he's like, you can't get on that bloody bike again, mate. So then he takes his shirt off. Why? Well, you know, because he's jacked. And guys who spend 4 to 5 hours at the gym every day, they want everyone to know it, don't they? Yeah, that's true. I feel like as soon as the sun comes out, their shirts are just straight off. Yet if a chick did that, it'd be kind of weird, right? I'd kind of prefer that, to be honest. Yeah, me too. Anyways, Bella decides she's finally going to go talk to her friends Mike, My Chemical Romance, Anna Kendrick, and whoever the hell that other chick is. Oh yeah, I forgot they existed. Yeah, same here. They don't really have anything to do in this film. Anyways, the chick with no name, she reckons she saw a big black animal in the woods, and then Bella tells them that her dad is tracking it down because it's probably the thing that's been killing people. I mean, we all know it's a werewolf at this point, right? Why are they even bothering to hide it? Well, this movie actually might surprise you there then. Anyways, Mike thinks that this would be a sick time to ask Bella out to the movies right in front of Anna Kendrick, who clearly wants to polish Mike's meat pole. That's a bit harsh. Oh yeah, massively. But remember, everyone hates Anna Kendrick in this film. Anyways, Bella invites everyone because she thinks Mike gives off hardcore incel vibes. And then she just goes along and invites Jay Dizzle along too, because why the hell not? That did not go the way Mike planned, did it? No, mate. And then get this, everyone bails on the movie because Bella's a cunt. So it's just Jay Dizzle, Bella, and Mike now. Awkward. And what's weird is Mike starts grilling Jay Dizzle about his age, saying how young he looks. Even though Mike looks way younger than him, age is both weirdly important and unimportant in this franchise, isn't it? Yeah, mate. Anyways, Mike bails on the movie early because he's a pussy with violence, even though he invited her to the movie in the first place. And then Jacob, he tries to hold Bella's hand. And she's like, no, Jacob, you're like going to ruin everything. WTF, girl? It's because I like you, but also I can't be with you. And I want you to like me, and I need you, but I also can't be with you. Can you understand that? I don't think anyone can understand that, right? So Jacob, he's a good-looking bloke who seems somewhat normal. He moves on and dates someone without severe mental problems, right? Nah, mate, he only says he'll bloody wait for her as long as she needs, doesn't he? Bloody hell. Anyways, Mike comes out of the bathroom after chucking his guts up, and then Jay Dizzle, he says, I'm gonna wreck you, you. And then he says he wants to put him in the hospital. For fuck's sake, I thought Bella was going to date someone normal for a change. Nah, mate, apparently he's a psycho too. So he runs off for some reason, and it turns out Mike shit himself because he was so scared. So then Bella has to lend him her jumper so she can tie it around his waist and hide the stains. Gross. Anyways, now old mate Jay Dizzle, he's ghosting her too. Not in a weird Edo ghost way, but just he's not talking to her anymore. So she starts moping around the house again, and Sea-Dog, he's worried. And he keeps looking at his daughter like, how did I f*** her up so badly? I mean, I'm a pretty normal guy. It's got to be a hippie mother. I mean, he's got a point, right? I know, right? Anyways, Bella decides she's had enough of Jay Dizzle not talking to her. So she storms up to his house in the rain, and apparently he's cut his hair and he's walking around without his shirt on now. Wait, hang on. How long haven't they been talking for? It's super unclear. It could be months or years, maybe. Anyways, apparently he's joined that shirtless junkies gang and dropped out of school now, and he's like, I'm breaking up with you, Bella, even though we were never actually going out and you wouldn't let me hold your hand. And then Bella, she's like, oh my god, Jacob, you're like my best friend, even though we haven't really spoken outside of fixing up these bikes. I feel like they're really forcing this relationship on us, and I'm a little concerned how easily Bella falls in and out of love with borderline psychopaths. Anyways, he runs off into the woods with the rest of the shirtless guys who've apparently been standing there in the pouring rain this whole time with no clothes on. Wouldn't they be cold though? Yeah, you can see the guy who plays Jacob just shivering through the whole scene and regretting his life choices. Anyways, now that she's had a bust up with Jay Dizzle, she starts thinking about Edo again, remembering how his face sparkles more than that toxic glitter they put in those snow globes that are made in Indian sweatshops. She got over Jacob fast. How long after their conversation is this? Literally the next scene. Anyway, she goes to the weird meadow from her dream, where Edo was backdooring her grandma, and you'll never guess what. What? Remember that black vampire with dreadlocks who was bad and then switched sides for reasons that were never really explained? Yeah, kind of. Why? Well, he's bad again, and he's switched sides for reasons that they don't explain. Kinda seems like his one and only character trait at this point, right? Anyways, he's about to suck her blood harder than Bonnie Blue sucked off 1,000 blokes in under 12 hours, when a big black dog appears in the bushes. A big black what? A big black dog, mate. I thought you said... Never mind. Anyways, it's only the creature, Bella's mate, who's so unimportant that she doesn't have a name, saw, isn't it? Oh, shit. So what happens next? Well, the big black dog isn't alone. A bunch of CGI dogs surround them, and Bella looks around into one of their eyes, and you can see she totally recognizes it. It's Jacob, right? Yeah, I mean, anyone with 1/3 of a semi-functioning brain has already figured that out. Anyways, that bad, then good, then bad again vampire, he runs away with that super speed effect that they do. I feel like the first film did pretty okay at the box office. Why didn't they improve that effect? No idea, they clearly didn't put more money into the writing. So she tells Sea-Dog she saw the big wolves in the woods and that it's not a bear that's actually chomping up people. So Sea-Dog, he tells this Native American guy who's just been standing there in every scene for some reason to gather his mates because they're gonna go hunting wolves now. There is so much going on right now. Why is this happening? Not sure. So anyways, the black bad, then good again, then bad again guy, he says he's come here to kill Bella for that vampire in the first film who was barely given any screen time. Oh, which one was she? I think she was the blonde vampire's girlfriend or some bull. I feel like they should have set her up more in the first film if they knew she was going to be the big bad in this one, right? Right? Anyways, now it's nighttime and she's trying to sleep, but then Jay Dizzle comes to her bedroom window half naked and parkours up the side of her house and into her room. Of course he does. Anyway, he's like, I'm sorry, Bella, but I can't, tell you that I'm obviously a werewolf. You know, because reasons. And then Bella, she's like, oh, come on, Jacob. I really want to know that you're a werewolf. If you tell me, I'll let you play with my butthole. Gross. She doesn't say that. Well, no, she doesn't, but it's heavily implied. Anyway, she says to him they should run away together. What the f***? Like, how many times is she going to suggest running away as the solution to all of her problems? Like 1 billion more times, I think. Anyways, he jumps out of the window and runs into the woods naked with his dig dragon behind him. Then Bella, she has a dream about a big wolf. And remember how in the first film they had that montage where she puts together all the obvious clues that show that Edo was obviously a vampire? Yeah, that was lame. Well, they do that again, except this time it's even worse. I see. So then Bella goes to the Native American in the wheelchair's house and she's like, tell me where he is, or I'll have my dad beat you up again. Jesus Christ. Anyways, he asks her not to come in and she just walks past him because he's in a wheelchair and he doesn't have functioning legs. What a bitch. I know, right? Anyway, she finds Jay Dizzle passed out in the back of the house like he's just smoked a bunch of cones, and then she sees all those shirtless blokes standing in the backyard like full-on psychos. Holy shit. Does she call her old man Sea Dog and the police? No, mate, she only bloody confronts him herself, doesn't she? What a dickhead. Anyway, she slaps one of them so hard in the face that he hulks out and turns into a big sweaty werewolf. Is this chick trying to get herself killed? She needs to walk around in one of those special helmets so she doesn't hurt herself. I know, right? Anyway, she legs it and then the wolf, he fangs it after her. But then old mate Jay Dizzle runs out of the back of the house and she's like, run Jacob, it's like a wolf or something. But then Jay Dizzle, he only bloody turns into a werewolf himself, doesn't he? And Bella, she's like super shocked. But I thought she'd already figured out that he was a wolf. Yeah, she had. And now she's surprised. Well, what was the point in that montage? No idea. Anyways, you know how superhero films get a bit boring when you see just, two CGI monsters smashing together? Well, you get that here. Except now it's somehow even worse than that. Holy crap. And then the two wolves, they run into the woods fighting, so they don't burn any more of the production money on those terrible effects. Well, where is all the money going? It's definitely not on the screen, mate. I feel like this franchise might be a money laundering scheme for a drug cartel or something at this point. Anyways, the Junkie Gang are pissed that their secret has been revealed. And one of them, he's like, I guess the wolf's out of the bag. The wolf's out of the bag? Like the saying the cat's out of the bag, except it's wolf. It's terrible writing. Anyways, apparently now Bella is mates with the other werewolves and goes to hang out with them at their dingy shanty in the woods. Oh, you mean the same werewolves that have probably been killing people around town and just tried to kill her? Yeah, those ones. Anyway, she meets the head junkie's wife, who has a massive scar on her face like she's been attacked by a werewolf. And then she makes the werewolf shirtless guys these like insanely large muffins. Wow, that is a big muffin. And then the werewolves, they start telling her about all the secret werewolf stuff, explaining about how they aren't allowed to say anything about werewolves because the leader of the werewolves, Sam, he told him not to do it. But aren't they telling her about them right now? Yeah, it's super weird. I don't know why you would explain a rule and then just break it straight away. It's like bloody Christopher Nolan's Inception all over again. Not again. Anyways, they say a bunch of other shit as well, but I was just really distracted by those large muffins. That is a really weird inclusion. Do werewolves only eat muffins or something? And why are they so big? As Jay Dizzle, he rocks up and he's wearing a shirt now, even though we saw him rip it off in the previous scene when he transformed into a wolf about 5 minutes ago. And then him and Bella, they take a walk along the beach, which is supposed to be like their thing or something because of that one time they did it in the first film. 2 times doesn't really make it a thing, does it? Well, apparently in this series, it does. Anyways, Bella's like, you're the things that have been killing people in the woods. And then Jay Diz, he's like, nah, babe, we don't kill people. The only thing we do kill is vampires. Hang on, so she knows the only group of vampires that don't kill people and the only group of werewolves that don't kill people. Yeah, that's right. What are the chances of that? Like 1 billion to 1, I reckon, but there it is. Anyways, Jay Dizzle said that him and his mates, they totally killed that black vampire from the first film. Why is the only black guy in this film a bad guy? Yeah, it seems a little bit racist, doesn't it? Anyways, Bella tells him about that vampire chick from the first film. The one that didn't get many lines and is now the big bad of this film for some reason. Anyways, now Jay Dizzle and his werewolf mates are hunting that vampire chick for Bella because apparently they're all best mates now, except now she's upset at him because she's lonely or something. So she goes right back to thinking about old Edo's ghost again, doesn't she? She's needy, isn't she? He's been gone for 5 minutes. Anyways, then there's this super long montage sequence where Sea Dog, who's apparently still out in the woods hunting the bloody wolves after what seems like months. Anyways, they're hunting the werewolves while the werewolves are hunting the vampire chick, and then Sea Dog's mate, who's been standing there for the whole film with no lines, the guy who's clearly a werewolf, gets attacked by the vampire chick, and Sea Dog, he thinks that it's the wolves, then the vampire chick just dives off a cliff. I cannot believe I'm saying this, but I actually think I'm struggling to keep up with the plot. No, mate, that's fair enough. This film makes less sense than that Jamaican guy who sells Chinese food in an Indian food truck down the road. Yeah, what is going on with that guy? No idea. I bet there's a bloody good story there, though. Anyways, Bella, she decides to jump off that big cliff now as well. Why does she do that? Mate, I have no idea. Anyways, the crazy vampire chick is still waiting for her there because, you know, she jumped off about 3 seconds ago. And then Bella, she freaks out so bad when she sees her that she smashes her head on the rocks and passes out. Jesus Christ, does she die? I mean, she definitely should be dead, but then apparently she sees Edo's ghost, which I'm not sure if he's saving her or just kind of watching her drown. And then Jacob, he's the one that actually saves her from the water. Wait, what happened to Edo's ghost and the vampire chick? Well, that's the thing, right? She's still waiting in the water for Bella, isn't she? Except now she's further away for some reason. Why didn't she just kill her when she had the chance? Great point. No explanation is supplied. So then Jay Dizzle, he tells Bella her dad's mate is dead. And then Bella cozies up to Jay Diz in the car and she starts leaking from the gash because apparently he's nice and warm or something. Why? Remember how in the first film she hates cold things? Worse than Anakin Skywalker hates sand?
I don't like sand.
Oh yeah, that's right. So why are the werewolves warm? Come on, man. You know there's not going to be a satisfying answer for that. Anyways, Bella gets home and the Cullens' bloody car is parked out the front, isn't it? Then Jay Diz, he's like, Bella, it's a trap. We need to leave. But then Bella, she's like, will you just chill the hell out, Jacob? I don't need this small dick energy in my life. But I thought he had a huge dick. Yeah, I know, it's kind of confusing. Anyway, she goes inside and bloody Alice is there, isn't she? You know, Edo's fake sister who she's either been writing to the whole movie or just talking to in her head like a psychopath. Anyways, she's like, Bella, I had a vision about you dying and falling off a cliff. How are you even here? But then Bella, she's like, I was cliff diving for fun, okay? Wait, if she thought that Bella was gonna die jumping off a cliff, why is she waiting at her house and not at the cliff? Well, because that's what the director told the actors to do, even though it makes zero sense. Anyways, Jay Dizzle comes in and he's like, I had to know if you were okay. So him and Alice, they start staring at each other harder than a recovering alcoholic stares at a bottle of Jack Daniels. But then get this, Jay Dizzle, he goes in for a bloody kiss, doesn't he? Seems like a weird time to try and make a move. She almost died. Yeah, big time. I think all the blood has gone from his brain and now it's in his huge wolf penis. Anyways, just when he's about to plant his big wolf lips on Bella's vagina, her phone rings. So Jacob answers it for some reason. Okay, that's a bit of a strange thing to do, to answer someone else's phone like that. Who was it? Well, that's the thing. It's only bloody Edo, isn't it? Oh, what? I know, right? So then Jay Dizzle, he hangs up, and then Bella, she's now furious at him for ruining her one and only chance to talk to Edo. You mean ruining her chance to talk to the guy who left her for months and made a weird ghost thing that caused her to fall off a speeding motorbike and smack her head on a jagged rock? Yeah, that's the guy. Anyways, Alice comes in and she's like, Edward thinks you're dead, so now he doesn't want to live, Bella. He's going to kill himself by going to the Voltari. The what? Remember those pretentious North Korean vampires? Oh, right. That feels like forever ago. I almost forgot about them. Anyways, Bella, she gets on a plane and only goes to Italy right bloody away, doesn't she? She does? Well, you know, because they want the movie to go full circle so we can see her running through a street with people dressed like Little Red Riding Hood and a big black cock in the sky. I thought it was a clock. Yeah, that's what I said. So then we see footage of a yellow sports car speeding across the Italian countryside trying to save Edo, don't we? Except it looks like the car was driving normal speed and it's just sped up for some reason. How did Bella get an expensive sports car? And why didn't they just make the car that was literally built to drive fast, rather than just speeding up the footage? All great questions. I have no answers for you, mate. Anyways, Edo, he's chatting to the heads of North Korea, Michael Sheen, Vecna, and some other guy who I think has a name as well. Oh, shit. So they're going to execute him, healthcare CEO style. Nah, mate. They reckon Edo, he's got too many useful powers, and they don't want to waste them, do they? So they offer him to join the North Korean army. Wait. What? I know, right? Kind of feels like this might have been a big turn in the book, but we know so little about these people that it feels completely out of the blue. Anyways, we cut to Alice and Bella, who are speeding along the countryside trying to save Edo, aren't they? Question, why didn't they just call Edo back before and tell him she was alive? Your guess is as good as mine, mate. Anyways, Alice, she reckons she's had another one of those bloody visions. You know, the ones that never come true. Apparently, because the North Korean council denied Edo, he's going to reveal himself to the humans, which is like their only rule you can't break, and then they'll be forced to snap his neck like a wet biscuit. Also, he's going to do it at noon, apparently, which will be right near that big cock in the sky we saw in her dream at the start. You mean clock? Yeah, that's right. So now they're recklessly driving through the streets filled with people in red cloaks trying to get to Edo. What's up with the cloaks? Well, that's one of the few answers they actually do give us. It's St. Marco's Day Parade. Everyone celebrates the expulsion of vampires from the city or some shit like that. No, okay. Is that a real thing? Nah, mate. St. Marco's Day is real, but apparently has nothing to do with vampires. So why include that in the movie if they're just going to change it? Well, because the writer thought it would be clever to use red hoods as a metaphor and hint at Little Red Riding Hood and the Big Bad Wolf. But I'm not really sure she knows how metaphors work, to be honest. Yeah, I don't think she does either. Anyways, Bella, she's freaking out in the car like a junkie, and the police,
they pull Alice over, demanding she stops the car.
Oh, and then they arrest her for driving recklessly.
Nah, they don't even tell her off. I'm not sure why it was even in the film. Anyway, she says to Bella that she can't go with her because of reasons, I guess. So Bella only has to bloody leg it through the streets to get to Edo through the bloody red cloaks, doesn't she?
Ah, just like the dream flashback thingy or whatever the it was.
Exactly, mate. Anyways, the big cock goes off at noon, doesn't it? And Bella, she's too bloody late. Edo's already stepped out into the light naked, and a small girl sees his little vampire cock sparkling in the bloody sunshine.
Whoa, so then the Voltari come and they snap his neck Mortal Kombat style.
Nah, mate, Bella jumps on him and pushes him back into the shadows, and then they kiss.
But the little girl just saw him. He literally broke the only rule the Voltari have.
Well, that's just it, right? Ella Fanning rocks up, and she's pissed, right? Because this role is totally beneath her acting abilities, so she takes him to the Voltari Council.
Oh, Bella's a human though. They're going to make her into some sort of vampire Big Mac, aren't they?
I know, right? So Michael Sheen, he's fascinated by Bella too, because Edo can't read her thoughts, and apparently he's a mind reader too, and he can't read her bloody thoughts either.
Wait, I thought he was reading her thoughts every time she tried to do something dangerous and sent his weird ghost thing to try and stop it.
Yeah, I know, but now this is happening. Anyways, none of them can use their powers on her because she's so bloody boring that she sucks all the energy out of every room she's in.
You've got that right, mate.
So then Vecna, he tells Michael Sheen that they have to kill her now because she knows too much about the North Korean Council and those fake supermarkets they set up just for visitors to hide the devastating poverty that they keep the rest of their population in.
Oh, do they kill her?
They give it a bloody hot crack, don't they? Then there's this like Dragon Ball Z fight scene where Edo fights one of Michael Sheen's goons who kind of looks like Jaws from James Bond for some reason.
Is it a good fight scene?
Nah, not really.
Oh, damn it.
And then Jaws, he grabs Edo and he's about to snap his neck because Edo made some wisecrack about Oddjob being a better henchman than he ever was, when Bella, she's like, no, like just kill me instead. And then get this, Michael Sheen, he gets a raging hard on about this, doesn't he?
Wait, they actually show Michael Sheen's hard, sweaty cock in this film?
Well, no, but it's...
Heavily implied?
Heavily implied, that's right. Anyways, he's fascinated by Bella because she's willing to give her life for someone with no soul. Remember that throwaway plot point from earlier on?
Oh, yeah.
Well, apparently it's important now.
I guess so.
Anyways, apparently Michael Sheen wants to turn her and make her immortal so that they can use her boring powers for their North Korean council and try and expand into South Korea.
Oh, so she finally becomes a vampire?
Nah, mate, because Alice steps in and she says she's had another one of her bloody visions. You know, the ones that never come true. And then she says that she is going to be the one that actually turns Bella into a vampire in the future.
Hang on. What?
I know.
But her visions never come true.
I know.
Ah, so they call her bluff and then they bite her right there and then, don't they?
No, mate. They totally let him go, don't they?
For sake, what an anticlimax.
I know. Oh, yeah, and apparently the Cullens, they have to turn Bella into a vampire. Or else.
Or else what?
No idea, it's total sequel bait. Anyways, the council says she must go now, because some girl named Heidi's coming. Who's this super hot chick in a red dress?
Is that the same one from The Matrix?
Not sure, maybe. Anyway, she leads all the tourists into the main North Korean death chamber, and they all get slaughtered so badly that Bella has nightmares for months.
Jesus Christ!
Oh, but don't worry, Edo, he's watching over her again, while she sleeps like a serial killer. So I guess she feels safe now?
I feel like that would creep me out even more.
Yeah, I know, right? Anyways, he's like,
I'll never leave you again, Bella.
Even though he left her for very flimsy reasons for the entire duration of the film.
Yeah, that's true, he did. Why does she like this guy again?
Anyways, Sea-Dog, he comes in and he's bloody pissed that Bella left for 3 days and didn't tell him where she was going.
It's fair enough. How hard would it have been to leave a note?
Not that hard at all.
Barely an inconvenience. Hang on, you can't steal Ryan George's catchphrase and his bloody format, mate.
I wasn't bloody stealing it, it was a nod to the audience. And our videos, they're way different. They're like longer and they have more dick jokes.
Well, it's bloody thin ice, mate. Step back.
Fine. So anyway, Sea-Dog, he grounds Bella for the rest of her life for making him lose his left testicle with worry.
I mean, that is fair enough. Also, ouch.
Yeah, I know, right? It's always the left one. Anyways, Edo the pedo knows that Sea-Dog, he's not going to want him anywhere near his daughter anymore after breaking her heart. So apparently now they'll have to keep their love a secret.
Especially from the police.
But then, get this right, Bella, she's standing in front of the Cullens and she makes them all vote on whether or not they will turn her into a vampire. And Edo, he's pissed because he doesn't want her to lose her soul, even though there's no scientific evidence that they even exist.
So what happens?
Well, they all bloody vote to turn her into a vampire, don't they? Except weirdly, that chick Rosalie, you remember the chick who hates her more than Elon Musk hates that doctor that wouldn't prescribe him any more ketamine? Apparently, she says she hates being a vampire and she wouldn't wish this life on anyone, even a smelly vagina like Bella.
Bit harsh, but
also kind of sweet. Yeah, I know. Anyways, Edo and Bella, they're driving away now because they're really skipping through scenes to get to the end, and Bella, she wants him to be the one that turns her. She's kind of f***ed up in the head, isn't she? Yeah, mate, I don't think any psychiatrist or meds in the world could save her at this point. True. Also, what the fuck happened to Jacob? Well, it's funny you say that. You'll never guess who's standing in the middle of the road half naked. Is it Jacob? Yeah, I guess that was an obvious setup, wasn't it? Anyways, he drops this bombshell on Edo, right? Is he gonna call him a terrible boyfriend and a borderline abuser? Nah, mate, that is heavily implied though. Remember that treaty from the first film? The one that the vampires couldn't step foot on parts of his family's reservation? Well, apparently the treaty also says that if any member of the Cullen family bites a human, then it's on like Donkey Kong, and it'll be werewolves versus bloody vampires. Damn, so Edo can't bite Bella without causing a bloody war now. Exactly. Hell, this series has so much unnecessary drama. Anyways, Edo and Jay Dizzle, they're totally about to tear each other's throats out over a girl with the personality of a toilet brush, when Bella, she's like, oh my god, like stop! If you hurt each other, then you'll like hurt me as well. That's a bit lame. Oh yeah, big time. Anyways, Jay Dizzle, he runs off into the woods to have a big werewolf cry and a massive wank, because Bella's given him massive blue bellas. Gross. Then Edo, he's like, give me 3 years and I'll turn you, Bella. I promise, but on one condition. What does he want? He's not into like feet play or something, is he? Nah, mate, he's like, you have to marry me. Then it cuts to the credits. Hell, does that mean we have to watch the next one now?
Edward?
If you ever touch her against the will again, take it down a notch. What's going on?
I kissed Bella. And she broke her hand, punching my face.
What the fuck did you say?
So, I just watched a movie where a 100-year-old pedo teams up with a pack of furries to take on a gang of necrophiliacs. So you've either been spending way too much time in the dark web, or you've just watched Twilight Eclipse. The second one. All right then, let's get this over with. So the movie starts with some bloke leaving a diner in the middle of the night in the pouring rain. Oh, does he have an umbrella? What? No, mate, that's not the point of the scene. But get this, he walks down a dark alleyway and someone pushes him over from the shadows. So this guy doesn't have an umbrella and he's walking down dark and secluded alleyways in the middle of the night. Why the hell are you so obsessed with umbrellas, mate? I don't know, my mum always told me to carry one. Yeah, I think you might be the weirdo in this scenario, mate. Anyways, get this, the guy from the shadows, he keeps pushing him over and disappearing. Why? Is he playing like a P. Diddy version of hide and seek or something? No idea, I think we're supposed to assume it's a vampire or something and they don't want us to know who it is yet. Or, knowing this franchise, the writer doesn't actually know yet and they're hoping they'll just figure it out as they go. Yeah, I'd say that's way more likely. Anyways, the dude freaks out so badly that he runs all the way downtown to a boat on the docks to look for help. So let me get this straight. He's managed to run all the way down from uptown to the docks without bumping into a single person who he could ask for help. Yeah, apparently. Anyways, so now he's standing on the edge of the docks, unsure of whether to jump or turn and face his pursuer. But get this, he hears some creepy whispers coming from behind him. What kind of whisper? You know, the kind of whispers you hear down in the Vatican basement where they keep all the pedo priests who are trying to seek asylum. Gross. So what happens next? Well, it only attacks him from the shadows again, doesn't it? And cuts up the palm of his hand. So now he's writhing around on the ground, screaming like a crack addict, searching for a dick to suck. So something stalked him all the way down to the docks just to slightly cut his hand? Good point. Anyways, he lays there screaming in the rain, and then we get the title of the movie, Eclipse. I bet he wishes he brought that umbrella now. Will you shut the f*** up about the umbrella, mates? Anyways, next up we get one of Bella's signature house monologues to start the movie. Is she quoting something again to sound intelligent, but it actually has very little to do with the movie? You bloody know it is, mate, because when you have no personality or opinions of your own, then you try and overcompensate with big fancy words. Like Russell Brand. Exactly, just like Russell Brand. Except Bella isn't getting accused of molesting anyone. Nah, that's Edo's job. That's right. And speaking of Edo the pedo, he's bloody there with her, isn't he? And he's trying to get her to do the dirty with him, but she tells him no and that she's got homework to do. So then he goes home and he asks again respectfully, right? No, mate, he only bloody forces her to kiss him, doesn't he? Okay, that's a bit off, isn't it? Yeah, I know. I think he's friends with Harvey Weinstein. Anyways, they start having this super boring conversation where he wants her to marry him and then she tells him that she's pregnant and that marriages, they only ever end in divorce. Wait, when did she get pregnant? No idea, because these movies are PG and the writer is a Mormon, so they never actually mention the word sex. But they're totally fine with vampires eating people and emotionally abusing women. Yeah, exactly. Anyways, he tries to argue that the statistics of vampire divorce rates are a little bit lower than the average human divorce rates. Well, that's not a very strong argument. Nah, it's not. But she only bloody loves it, doesn't she? So she starts sticking her tongue so far down his throat that it comes out of his asshole and tickles his balls. Gross. Yeah, and he bloody loves the old asshole ball tickle trick. So his skin starts sparkling. Hasn't he been in the sun this whole time? Why is he only sparkling now? No idea. The sparkling in these movies is super inconsistent. Like, how has no one in this town ever seen any of these vampires sparkle except for Bella? I mean, they go to school every day in the daylight, right? I'm thinking maybe there's a gas leak in town, so everyone in town is kind of like borderline mentally handicapped. Yeah, I reckon you're probably right. Anyways, she gets home bang at 4 o'clock, and Sea-Dog, her dad, the only one in town with a functioning frontal lobe, he's been reading up about some serial killer that's on the loose in Seattle. Is this going to tie back to the bloke who got a paper cut at the start of the movie? You bloody know it. Anyways, he cottons onto the fact that Edo the pedo is just trying to butter him up so that he will lift Bella's curfew. You know, by making sure that she's home early every night. So she understands that her dad is just trying to protect her, and then she acts reasonably, right? Nah, mate. She's like, oh my God, Dad, I love Edward. We're going to be together forever. Also, I let him take my butthole's virginity. Jesus Christ, I know. So he goes, listen, Bella, I think it's a pretty reasonable request to ground someone who disappeared to a different country to look for a guy who broke your heart by ghosting you for an entire year. Literally, remember how he made that weird ghost thing that made her fall off a speeding motorbike and crack her head on a rock? How could I forget about that? Anyways, he explains that he wants her to get some time away from him because she's spending like every waking hour with him. Yeah, plus he watches her while she sleeps. Yeah, exactly. So he suggests that maybe she hangs out with Jacob a bit more, who's apparently going through a bit of a hard time. So he tries to stop his daughter from going out with a 100-year-old pedo who's stalking her, just to go out with a naked furry who's also stalking her. Yeah, it's not a great plan. Anyways, she promises she'll have a chat to Jacob, so she leaves him a voice message saying how worried she is about him. You know, because apparently they haven't chatted in like weeks. So what does he say? Nothing. He never replies to the voicemail. And apparently he sent her a letter a few weeks back saying how he can't see her again, not until she stops dating that creepy pedo. I mean, that's fair enough, right? Exactly. And speaking of him, Bella gets into her car at night to try and go to Jacob's, but it doesn't bloody start. And then it's revealed that someone snuck into the car and is sitting right next to her. Oh, is it that serial killer? No, mate, it's only bloody Edo. And apparently he's the one that sabotaged her car. What?
I did it because I love you, Bella. I need to be able to know who you're talking to and where you're going at all times.
Isn't that like domestic abuse 101? Yeah, it is. Anyways, Bella, she's pissed, right? Because she reckons that he found out through his sister Alice. You know, the chick who has visions that never come true and probably just has psychosis. Oh yeah, I remember her. She's fun. Yeah, but it's unclear whether she saw it in a vision or she's just betrayed her confidence somehow, because we haven't actually seen her talk to Alice this entire film. Sounds super unclear. Yeah, it is. Anyways, Bella's like, oh my God, Edward, I only have till like graduation to see him, and then I'm going to become a vampire, so I won't be able to see him anymore. Why? Well, remember, because werewolves and vampires are like the Crips and the Bloods, and if Bella steps onto their turf once she's turned into a vampire, well, they'll just bloody come at her, won't they? You know, like how P. Diddy tried to poison Jamie Foxx when he found out his dirty little secret. Okay, we've already done 2 P. Diddy jokes. We need to settle down. No, it's not a joke. He actually did that. Anyways, the next day, Bella is talking to her friends who never have anything to do with the plot. Mike, My Chemical Romance, Anna Kendrick, and that girl who probably has a name, but I can't be f***ed looking it up. Yeah, that's fair. Anyways, Mike, he's trying to flirt with Anna Kendrick by helping her write lines for her graduation day speech this year. Oh, that's nice. Mike seems like a basic bitch, but at least he's not a psycho. So what does she think? Oh, she f***ing hates him. And then she screws up the paper and throws it in his face. Of course she does. Anyways, then Alice and Jasper show up, and Alice wants to throw a bloody party. And everyone is like super surprised, right? Because no one has ever seen the Cullens' house. And then Jasper, he goes,
After all, how many times do you graduate high school?
Then Edo, he laughs. You know, because he's graduated high school like 100 times and keeps dating underage women, just like Matthew McConaughey in Dazed and Confused.
That's what I love about these high school girls. I get older, they stay the same age.
And then next, Bella and Edo are sitting outside of Sea-Dog's police station, and she's grilling him because she really wants to know what Alice's vision was. Is this the same vision she talked about at the end of the last movie? Yeah, that's what I thought, except no, she's had some entirely new vision off screen, and this is the way they're deciding to tell us about it. That's a bit sloppy. Mate, it's even sloppier than that woman in Billy Madison.
I made 'em extra sloppy for you.
Anyways, Edo gets bored of listening to Bella, you know, because she's got the personality of a toilet brush and he's an abusive asshole, so he decides to listen in on Sea-Dog's conversation, and he's chatting to some parents inside, and apparently their kid has gone missing in Seattle. Why do we keep hearing about Seattle so much? Well, that's what bloody Bella says, doesn't she? Edo reckons that a bunch of new vampires are killing people there and making them disappear, and if they keep doing it, then the North Korean Vampire Council they're going to have to step in and intervene. Didn't they kill a whole tourist group at the end of the last film? Why do they care about a few missing people in Seattle? No idea, but this is a big deal for the Cullens because remember, Edo and Alice promised Michael Sheen that they would turn Bella into a vampire. You know, because he's obsessed with Bella too for some reason, even though she has the personality of a urinal cake in an airport bathroom. Gross. Anyways, Sea-Dog comes out and it's super awkward because you can tell that he just thinks that Edo is some sort of sparkly But then Edo's like,
My family got you plane tickets, Bella, to go see your mom. It might be your last chance to see her, you know, before graduation day.
oh Sea-Dog is not gonna like that. Nah mate, he bloody loves it, so he bars up big time, thinking that it's gonna give Bella some time away from Edo the pedo. Yeah, I guess that's true. Yeah, but then his cock goes super limp when Edo says,
Actually, there is 2 tickets,
oh! Anyways, then we get this lame monologue from Bella as she stands out looking over the ocean. Oh my god, I did want to see my mom and know that her life was full and satisfying. Which is super confusing that she's using past tense because the camera swings around and she's already bloody there with her mum. Yeah, that's really confusing. What was the point in that monologue then? Anyways, her mum's having a massive whinge because Bella says that she's gonna go to uni in a different state. So she's trying to guilt trip her into staying there. But wasn't her mum the reason she had to leave in the first place? Yeah, exactly, because she wanted to go on a year-long road trip with her new boyfriend, Long Dong Silver, and go to one of those orgy tents at Coachella where they hire people to mop up the layers of thick jizz that are on the floor. Gross. That's not actually a thing, is it? Yeah, those are a thing. Dear God. Anyways, she looks like she actually might be on Sea-Dog's side because she says to Bella that she's kind of acting differently around Edo and that his stare is creepier than that Jared guy who used to be the mascot for Subway. Whatever happened to him? Moving on. Anyways, next up we have this super low budget action scene where the Cullens are running through the woods hunting something. What are they hunting? Well, that's just it, right? It's the red-headed vampire. You know, the one who barely got any lines in the first film and then suddenly became the franchise's big bad in the second film for no reason at all. Yeah, that was a bad choice. Oh, you better believe it is. Anyways, bloody old mate Emmett, he's the first to catch up with her. And she only bloody throws him into a tree like she's Perfect Cell or something. And then she speeds off, eating up more of the production budget on these wonky effects. Lame. So what happens next? Well, she only bloody goes into the werewolf territory, doesn't she? Oh, shit. Does she start a war? I mean, that's what the whole ending of the last film built to and heavily indicated would happen. But nah, mate, the wolves just chase her for a bit and then she jumps back over into the vampire side. But then she tricks Emmett into jumping across into the wolf territory after her. Well, then does he start a war? Nah, mate. Well, does this war ever happen? Nah, mate. Then why set it up? No idea. The writer of this franchise was clearly drunk and horny half the time she wrote this, so she probably blacked out and forgot that she set all that up. That would make a lot of sense. Anyways, the next day we get to school, don't we? And you'll never guess who's bloody there. Is it that kid from Batman Begins that went on to play Joffrey in Game of Thrones? What? No, that's so specific. It's only bloody Jay Dizzle, and let me tell you, he's looking like a crack addict more than ever. And he's like,
Stay off our land, you pale pedo c***. Your land is shit. Also, shut up, Jacob. I bet you didn't even tell her, did you?
Oh my god, tell me what, Edwin? Wait, what is this about? Well, Jay Dizzle, he tells Bella that Ginger Pubes, she's still after her, and that Edo and the gang lied to her just to get her out of town so that they could try and track her down safely. Well, why didn't he just tell her? I guess maybe they just wanted to create some conflict for this movie? Fair enough. What happens next? Bella only gets on Jay Dizzle's motorbike and speeds off with him, doesn't she? What? Why? No idea. And Jacob, he gets this super creepy smile. The kind of smile a peeping Tom gets when they're camped outside a woman's bedroom with binoculars and she starts taking her knickers off. Gross. Also, who says knickers? Yeah, true. I felt a bit off even saying it, to be honest with you. Anyway, she goes to that dingy shack all the shirtless morons live in, and they all start running out and on Jacob because he's been moping around like a simp, wishing that Bella would call him. But she did call him. Yeah, I know. Shut up. Anyways, a chick called Leah Clearwater appears, and she hates Bella because her acting career didn't take off till years later with Dexter New Blood. And then they went and f***ed up the ending again, didn't they? Not again. Yeah, I guess at least he didn't drive a boat into a hurricane this time. What the hell were they thinking? Anyways, apparently she is Sam the Wolfpack leader's ex-girlfriend, and they have this kind of weird love triangle thing going on that gets way too much screen time considering it doesn't go anywhere at all. Sounds like shit writing. Of course it is, mate. It's Twilight. Anyways, Bella says to her, oh my god, I'm sorry about your dad and the Dexter New Blood finale. What happened to her dad? Well, remember the Native American bloke who hung out with Sea-Dog and barely said anything the whole movie, and then he got choked out by Ginger Pubes, and then they wanted us to care all of a sudden? Vaguely. Well, she's his daughter, And before you ask, no, it never becomes relevant to the plot, so let's bloody move on. Jesus Christ. Anyways, she runs off and turns into a wolf and all her clothes fall off, which is kind of weird because all the bloke's pants seem to magically come back but not their shirts, so I have no idea how any of that works. I guess it's like the Marvel films with the Hulk, you know, still keeps his pants on so we don't have to see his green cock. Yeah, maybe. Anyways, Jay, Dizzle and Bella go for a walk and he tells Bella that it's hard when there's a love triangle in the group because they can all read each other's minds, which makes it super awkward, especially because the house is filled with boys and all of them are into some pretty weird furry porn on Wolf Hub. Gross. Also, since when can wolves read each other's minds? Yeah, it's never been mentioned before, but Jacob, he says to Bella, remember? You know, to try and gaslight us into thinking that it was already a thing? What an asshole. Yeah, then he tells us that Sam has imprinted on Emily, you know, because he loves her so much, even though he bit off half her face and she still has the scars to show it. Imprinting. What the hell is that? Well, lucky for you, he gives us this really explanation.
When you imprint with someone, it's like it's them holding you to the planets and not gravity.
That makes absolutely zero sense. Neil deGrasse Tyson would be pissed. I know, right? Then Bella, she asks if he's ever imprinted on anyone, because she's a little bit worried that maybe he's imprinted on her without consent. Don't worry though, he hasn't. Phew, well, at least at this point he's better than Edo. Anyways, this scene feels like it goes on for about 6 years, then she finally gets the balls to tell him that she's gonna get turned into a vampire after graduation. Oh what does he say? Well, he says that he wished she'd die rather than turn into one of them, doesn't he? Hell, okay, I take it back, he's worse than Edo. Yeah, I reckon you could be right. Anyways, for some reason, a guy threatening her doesn't turn her on for once, so she leaves upset. Well, that's a relief. Maybe she's finally starting to realise what a healthy relationship looks like. Nah, mate, that never happens. Anyways, we cut back to Bella's place, and someone is hanging out in her room, smelling all of her belongings, looking like a psycho. Well, it's obviously Edo, right? Nah, mate, that's the thing. It's some other bloke, isn't it? But they put this sinister music over it, so we're supposed to think that this guy is evil, even though Edo does that like literally all the time. Yeah, that's weird. Anyways, then this bloke sees Sea-Dog sleeping on the couch and he leans down and goes to kiss him. What the f? I know, right? The vampires in this series are all sex pests like James Franco. Anyways, then Bella gets home and it's revealed that Sea-Dog is totally fine. So it was either some dude he met on Grindr or the dude just left before he tongued him. Weird. What happens next? Well, Edo rocks up, doesn't he? And he looks rough. Like he's been sniffing fentanyl out of a hooker's ass crack all night. Gross. He's stressing, isn't he? Saying that he almost broke the vampire-werewolf treaty thing just to see if she was okay. It's a bit extreme. Maybe you should try some breathing techniques. Anyways, we cut to Edo and Bella telling the Cullens about this mysterious new vampire. Edo said that when he rocked up to Bella's house, he didn't recognise the smell at all, did he? He says that it smelt like a backdoor cream pie that was never washed out and somehow got infected. Oh, for God's sakes, man, that might be your worst line yet. Well, then I'll have to try and beat it then, won't I? Please don't. Anyways, Carlo and Macaulay Culkin and the rest of the Cullens, they're weirded out because they don't recognise this scent either. So Edo, he starts to wonder if the vampire is working for the North Korean Vampire Council thing. But Bella, she thinks that she might be related to this Victoria chick. Who is that? You know, evil ginger pubes. Keep up. Anyways, Alice reckons that they're both full of shit because her visions told her that it's not either of those two things. And then Carlisle Macaulay Culkin, he says that he'll need to put Bella and her dad under constant protection. But Bella, she doesn't like that, and she's like, oh my God, you can't protect me, my dad, and keep yourselves fed. Then Edo, he's like,
I'm not gonna leave you unprotected, Bella.
And then she's like, I won't be unprotected, Edward. She's talking about the shirtless werewolves whose pants somehow stay on. Yeah, exactly. It's played off like it's supposed to be a big reveal when you see her walking out with Jacob the next day, but anyone with more than 2 neurons working in their brain could have already figured that out. Yeah, that's true. Maybe the writer thinks that everyone is as stupid as she is. Yeah, maybe. Anyways, Jay Dizzle and his mates, they've been trying to figure out what that weird vampire smells like as well. They reckon it smells worse than the shower that people use after they filmed a backdoor scene on Tushy.com. Hell, man, you have way too much knowledge of adult entertainment. So what happens next? Well, Jay Dizzle, he's like,
we'll take it from here, you cold-dicked c.
Then Edo, he hates this plan. So he's like,
at least I'm not a furry. You're the laughing stock of the internet.
Then Bella, she chimes in and she's like, whoa. Furries are not the laughing stock of the internet. Flat earthers are. She's not wrong there. Exactly. Anyways, then we get some more boring voiceover from Bella where she tells us that Edward hates the plan of the werewolves protecting her. Didn't we just learn that information? Yeah, but even these movies, they know how shit they are, so they want to remind the audience what's happening every few minutes, just in case you've fallen asleep or you've found something better to watch on your phone. No, that's fair. Anyways, the wolves take over protecting Bella so that the Cullens can start hunting down Ginger Pubes. An uneasy alliance. Okay, this is getting interesting now. Nah, it's not, trust me. Anyways, Edo, he drops off Bella to Jacob, who's taking over the next watch of Bella, and then to mark his territory, he gives Bella like this massive sloppy French kiss right in front of Jacob. Awkward! Yeah, I know, but then Jacob, he pisses on Bella's face. You know, because that's how wolves mark their territory. Gross. Yeah, but she's f***ed in the head, so she's totally into it. And then he says that he's gonna take her to a party. And no, it's not a piss party, thank God. Phew, but get this, he's only bloody gaslighting her again. There's no party at all, and instead, he takes her to a bloody council meeting, doesn't he? Wait, what? Yeah, it's his tribe's council of elders. Apparently, they're gonna share some secret stories about the werewolves' history that no one has ever heard outside of the tribe. So the only person in town they decide to tell is the very same person who's sleeping with one of their rivals. Yeah, that's right, idiots. Anyways, Jacob's dad, remember the old Native American bloke in a wheelchair that Sea-Dog beat up in the first movie? How could I forget? Well, he tells this long and overly complicated story about the tribe's history. Sounds overly complicated? Oh, you better believe it is. And get this right, apparently his tribe could all turn into werewolves, you know, to scare off their enemies. Well, it's not really new information. How is this a secret? I know, right? Why even bloody tell us? Anyways, one day his tribe came across a strange man who was cold as ice, and he managed to kill a bunch of their tribesmen, healthcare CEO style, and it took about 3 of his tribespeople just to take this down. So, he was a vampire, right? Yeah, he was. Well, why didn't they just say that? No idea. Anyways, this angry chick comes to town looking for revenge. You know, people suspected she might have been on her period, but they're too polite to say. And she starts tearing through all of their tribesmen, doesn't she? Why didn't everyone just transform into wolves to try and stop her? Surely she was outnumbered here. Great point. Anyways, the only way they were able to beat this woman was because another random woman cuts open her arm to distract her with the scent of blood so that someone else could take her out from behind. And no, I don't mean like they do on Tushy.com. I feel like there were many other ways they could have done that, but sure, why not? Yeah, I know, right? Anyways, we cut from Bella hearing this super weak story with numerous plot holes to the random guy from the start who got that tiny scratch on his hand. Okay. Why? Well, he's a bloody vampire now, isn't he? And he's turning a bunch more random people into vampires too. And they're tearing up the place. They're killing left, right, and center. Jesus, this is still PG, yeah? Apparently it is. Anyways, we cut to the Cullens who are watching a news report that thinks that this is all the work of some serial killer. And then Carlisle Macaulay Culkin, he's like,
it's getting worse.
Which is super obvious and didn't really need to be stated. And then Jasper, he's like,
yeah, it's new blood.
Who the hell is Jasper? Remember, he's the one that tried to eat Bella when Edo the pedo pushed her violently into a wall for no reason. Wait, isn't he supposed to be the newest member of their family? How does he know so much? Well, that's only bloody revealed later. And let me tell you, it doesn't make any sense at all, does it? Of course it doesn't. Anyways, Jasper says that apparently when you first become a vampire, you're super strong and you just go mental on feeding. Jesus Christ, that's not good. It's kind of like how teenage boys can't stop cranking it as soon as they start getting boners. Gross. Anyways, Edo, he reckons that he read Michael Sheen's mind at the end of the second movie, and apparently he was really disappointed with the way that the second season of Good Omens ended. So he's thinking that now maybe Michael Sheen wants to kill Edo's family and force them to turn Bella into a vampire. Why is he so obsessed with her again? Well, because every teenage girl's dream, according to this franchise, is to have every guy in the world become creepily obsessed with them and, you know, to become more popular than Anna Kendrick. Ah, yeah, forgot about that. Anyways, we cut to Sea-Dog, who's looking at a flyer of a missing boy. You know, the one whose parents came to see him earlier on at the start of the movie. And then Bella walks in and she's like, oh my God, maybe they should just like give up down. Really? What a maniac. Well, apparently it's because she doesn't want him to keep looking for her after she becomes a vampire and just totally ghosts him. Couldn't she just tell him she was okay? Yeah, she probably could, but apparently she's just not going to. What a I know, right? Anyways, she's worrying about becoming a vampire, so Edo, he tries to cheer her up by saying,
don't worry, Bella. Everyone you know will be dead in a few decades.
And why the would that cheer her up? I don't know, she's a weird girl, so maybe it would work, who knows? Anyways, then Bella, she asks Edo why he still doesn't want her to become a vampire, and then he tells her that he doesn't want her to lose her soul. Didn't they tell us this same thing in the last film? Yeah, they did. Apparently that wasn't enough, so we have to hear it a billion more times, even though there's no scientific evidence that souls even exist. Yeah, that's true. Anyways, he tells her that vampire or not,
don't worry, You'll always be my Bella.
And then he smells her forehead in the same way that P. Diddy smells a fresh bottle of baby oil. Gross. Anyways, then we cut to Jacob and Bella going for a walk in the reservation near where Edo projected a ghost thing at her while she was riding a motorbike at full speed, which caused her to smash her head on a jagged rock. Man, I really want to know what the was up with that ghost. You're never going to find out, mate, so forget about it. Anyways, Bella tells Jacob he's invited to Alice's graduation party thingy. And what about the werewolf-vampire treaty that says they won't step on each other's land? Apparently it doesn't exist when there's a party. No idea. Anyways, he says he's just going to lay his cards down on the table and he tells her that he loves her, which is super obvious because she can totally see his furry erect penis in every scene that he shoots with her. Gross. But Bella, she's like, oh my god, Jacob, how many times do I have to tell you that I don't like you that way? But Jacob, he's an old school romantic and he says he doesn't believe her, so he's just going to keep pursuing her until she changes her mind. So he's a stalker? Yeah, exactly. Anyways, he bangs on about how much better he is than Edo, and then he just grabs her head and forces her to kiss him. Okay, I thought Edo was the bigger creep out of these two, but Jacob, he's just stepped it up a notch. Yeah, so get this right, she looks down and he's barred up harder than a cinder block in his pants, and she's so repulsed by his furry little cock that she punches him right in the face. I mean, that is fair enough, he did just sexually assault her. I know, right? Anyways, Edo drives up to the house and he's about to do a Mortal Kombat fatality on Jacob for sexually assaulting his girlfriend when Sea-Dog walks out and he's like,
Whoa. Take it down a notch, you two. What's the problem here?
and Jacob, he comes clean and he's like,
I forcefully kissed your daughter. And then she broke her hand by punching me in the face because she was so grossed out by my furry cock.
Oh! Jesus Christ. Yeah, but then he tries to play it off by saying that it was just a misunderstanding, which seems like it's straight out of Harvey Weinstein's lawyer's playbook. And what does Sea-Dog do about his daughter being assaulted? Nothing. Apparently he doesn't care. But isn't he a cop? I know, right? He just sort of stares off into space, wondering about how he's managed to fuck up his daughter so much and how much bigger his wife's new boyfriend's penis is than his. How much bigger is it? Bigger than Danny D's, apparently. Oh, dear God. Anyways, we cut to Carlisle Macaulay Culkin and he's fixing up her hand. He reckons that it's just a minor sprain and that she needs to stop being such a whiny little bitch. Bit harsh, but fair enough. Yeah, and Rosalie, she bloody legs it out of the room, and then Bella goes after her to ask why she hates her more than the CCP hates the Uyghurs. And what does she say? Well, she says that she doesn't hate her, but she also doesn't like her either. Isn't that the same thing? Yeah, it is. Apparently she envies her, and she says she's making the wrong decision to become a vampire, and that she wishes that she had a choice when she was turned. I sense another pointless backstory coming on. Oh, you better believe it is. Apparently she was groomed by a local back in the 1800s, who thought it would be a real laugh, you know, to R-word her in front of his mates, and then he just lets them have a go at it too. Jesus Christ, what the is with this series and R-word scenes? No idea. Apparently the chick who writes this is a Mormon as well. That just raises even more questions. It sure does. Anyway, she says that Carlisle Macaulay Culkin found her bleeding in an alleyway, so he turned her into a vampire, and then she tracked down all of the guys single-handedly and killed them one by one. Well, good. Oh, and apparently she killed the last guy in a white bride's dress. Why? No idea. Anyways, we cut to the random guy from the start who got that tiny scratch on his hand, and now he's somehow cultivated this giant horde of tweaking junkies for no reason at all. That subplot took a turn, right? Anyways, he says to another vampire who's never given a name or any more screen time that something big is coming, and that if they can't control themselves, they're all gonna die. What does that mean? Dude, I wish I knew. Anyways, Ella Fanning is watching on a nearby rooftop for some reason. Apparently her and the North Koreans, they're worried about that lie they spread about Kim Jong-il scoring 5 holes in one in a single game of golf. They thought that maybe that was a little too unbelievable, so now their own citizens might be questioning the whole institution. Isn't that Dakota Fanning? Yeah, it could be. I can't be looking it up though. Anyways, the random dude looks up to the building where they were standing, and now they're gone for some reason, just like Batman. Yeah, I've always wondered how he does that. Yeah, he's probably just hiding behind a bin. Anyways, Anna Kendrick gives the graduation speech, and she says that every teenage girl's dream is to be better than her, but they're never going to be because she's Anna Kendrick. That's a bit of a weird speech. Yeah, I know. Anyways, everyone applauds, and then she starts talking about choices. You know, the kinds of choices you'll make after graduation. And then she says the word choices a million times, you know, because Bella has to make a choice whether she's going to become a vampire or not. Because this film has no idea what subtext is. I'm getting that impression. Anyways, Sea-Dog, he's holding up the franchise as normal as he gives his daughter this super cute round of applause for graduating, and it looks like he's genuinely gonna cry. That is cute. Also, we never see her do any work. How did she graduate? Good point. Anyways, we finally cut to the big party at the Cullens house, which was a massively stupid idea because the last time they had a party there, people tried to kill Bella. And another Muse song is playing because they must have secured the rights to the band before they became big, and now they're milking it for all it's worth. Those cheap bastards. I know, right? Anyways, Jay Dizzle rocks up, and he's actually wearing some clothes for a change, and he apologizes about sexually assaulting Bella. So she calls the police, right? Nah, she only bloody forgives him, doesn't she? What an idiot. Yeah, and then he gives her this wolf-shaped bracelet, and her pussy starts leaking so hard that everyone at the party has to put on snorkels. Gross. And then Alice, she has another one of her shitty visions about that random guy with the small paper cut on his hand leading hordes of junkies in Seattle. But what's even more weird is that Bella knows she's had a vision from all the way across the other side of the room, so she goes over to talk to her about it. How does she know? No idea, but Alice, she's shitting her pants harder than that man I saw at Nando's who ordered extra spicy wings. Because she reckons the junkie hordes, they're only bloody heading this way, aren't they? Anyways, the Cullens start planning how to defend town, and Jasper, who is all of a sudden the Cullens' chief war strategist, he says they don't have enough vampires to protect everyone. They really don't know what to do with this Jasper character, do they? I thought he could manipulate people's emotions with his mind. Yeah, he could in the second film for one scene, but now he can't anymore. And let me guess, that's never explained, is it? Of course it isn't, you bloody pelican. Anyways, apparently Edo, he knows that random bloke from the start of the movie, even though we've never heard of him before or seen the two of them have a conversation. But Edo, he reckons he's a good bloke. You mean the same good bloke who's murdering hundreds of people in Seattle right now? Yeah, that's the guy. Anyways, Jay Dizzle comes up and he wants to know what the is going on because the runner has been handing him new pages of script every morning and he feels that this movie might be getting written on the fly. It definitely feels that way. It sure does, because no one in the room questions the fact that a werewolf is at their vampire party and that he's broken their very treaty by being there. Yeah, that's true. What the And then you'll never believe this, a shaky alliance is drawn between the vampires and the werewolves to protect the town of Forks. Even though a werewolf just broke the one and only rule of their treaty by being at their house? Yeah, exactly. Anyways, Carlisle Macaulay Culkin, he says that the vampires will need to train the werewolves on how to fight these new blood vampires, who are apparently even more skilled than those 13-year-old Chinese kids who always kick my ass in Call of Duty. Oh, they're in trouble then. Anyways, Bella is like, oh my God, Jacob, you don't have to do this. And now Jacob, he's angry at Bella now for some reason, even though he just gave her a bracelet. And he's like,
shut the f up, Bella. I'm a werewolf. I live for two things: killing vampires and having sex. Doggy style.
Gross. Anyways, we cut to the next day where Jasper, he's training all of the vampires on how to fight the new bloods. And the bloody werewolves rock up in their furry costumes with their cocks hanging out. Ugh, yuck, why? Well, apparently they don't trust the Cullens enough, so they've come in their strongest form, even though Jacob was just chilling at their house the night before. Sounds like the writers were just smoking cones at this point. I know, right? Anyways, then everyone has to take turns fighting Jasper. And then Jasper, he only beats up Rosalie and Alice, doesn't he? Jesus Christ, do the other vampires stop him? Apparently it's fine for vampire men just to slap women around. They're old school like that, just like Sean Connery.
I think it's absolutely right.
To give her a good slap.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's f***ed up. I know, right? Anyways, Bella talks to Jacob in his furry costume, saying how this is dangerous and he might get killed. Oh, you mean the exact conversation they had one scene ago? Yeah, exactly. But this whole scene, all I could actually think of was those really hilarious behind the scenes photos. Okay, I think I want to see this whole film without effects now. It would be way more enjoyable. Yeah, me too. Anyways, then Edo, he tells the wolves that they're done training for the day, even though they literally just stood there and watched, and then Bella, she bails up Jasper to ask if there's anything she can do to help. And what the f is she gonna do? Well, that's what I was thinking. Anyways, Jasper, he confirms that by saying that she's a worthless sack of shit who's gonna amount to nothing, and that the only useful thing he can think of her to do is to be offered up as bait. Jesus Christ. I mean, he's right though. He sure is. Anyways, we get another pointless backstory we didn't ask for when he tells Bella about how he was a lead general in the Confederate Army. Okay, so Jasper was fighting for slavery? Yeah, which is a bit off if you ask me. Anyways, he was turned into a vampire by some hot chick who used him as a sex slave, and she would peg him on Sundays, and then when she wasn't doing that, she would use him to create armies of those new blood vampires. Why are all these backstories so messed up? No idea, but it gets worse. So then we see some footage of him killing some innocent kids, because apparently they wanted to step it up another notch. For f***'s sake. And then apparently when he met Alice, her pussy was so tight that he completely changed his way of life. Gross. And then him and Alice start making out, and she starts sucking on his Confederate racist dick right in front of Bella. Gross. So did he give up all his slaves? They breeze over that part, no idea. Anyways, then Bella has this weird dream about that chick who controlled Jasper, and then she comes to the realization that Ginger Pubes Jessica is behind the hordes of vampires in Seattle. Didn't we already know that though? Yeah, we did, but to really drive that point home, we have another pointless scene with the bloke who has a tiny scratch on his hand and Ginger Pubes, where she tells him that she's the one behind it all. Were the writers getting paid by the page or something? There's so much padding in this film. Yeah, I reckon you're right. Anyways, it was at this point I realized that Ginger Pubes is actually played by Bryce Dallas Howard. So then I went back and I checked the old films because I was pretty sure that it wasn't always her playing that character. Well, was it? Nah, apparently the other chick had a show that overlapped the filming schedule by like 2 days. So they just told her to go f herself and they got the daughter of Happy Days to come on and do it instead. That's such a specific way to insult someone. Anyways, she's having a whinge about her dead boyfriend, and Riley, you know, the guy with the tiny scratch on his hand, he's having second thoughts for some reason. So she tells him that she loves him. But he can totally tell she's faking it because every girl he's ever been with has faked it, and he knows that face all too well. Wait, so they actually say that all his girlfriends faked orgasms in the film? Well, no, but it's heavily implied. Anyways, we cut to Edo and Bella walking through the woods, and Bella, she's cutting herself like a 15-year-old emo girl, and she's leaving these little smears of blood on the trees in the woods. And why is she doing that? Apparently this is some complicated plan that Jasper came up with to lure the vampires towards a trap and confuse them so that Ginger Pubes can't find her. Anyways, Edo, he sees that she's not wearing her ring, and he asks her if he can have her brown ring. You know, because this book was written by a Mormon, and apparently butt stuff is okay before marriage. Gross. Also, why isn't she wearing her ring? Well, that's the thing, right? Edo knows it's because she's confused about Jacob, and he reckons that she should just tell him because they're gonna get married, and even though it's a furry and it's totally fine to laugh at them, he thinks that it's a bit uncool just to drag him along like that. Well, that's nice of him. Yeah, I mean, he's a stalker and a pedo, but occasionally he does something nice. Anyways, Jay Dizzle rocks up, and he's going to take Bella away to confuse the vampire's scent. How? Well, apparently to vampires, werewolves smell like 14-day-old jizz that's been left in a gym sock that's getting crusty under a teenage boy's bed. Gross. So anyways, now all the junkies are gathered at the docks and they're staring across the ocean. What, so they're just gonna swim all the way to the Cullens? No idea. One minute they're at the docks and the next minute they're in the bloody forest. Anyways, Jay Dizzle, he's carried Bella all the way up to the top of a snowy mountain, hasn't he? Why? Well, apparently this was all part of Jasper's plan as well, that they didn't actually tell us about. They just kind of expected us to know what was going on. Okay. Fair enough. And then Edo, he's only bloody waiting up the top of the mountain for him, isn't he? So Bella is just gonna sleep in a tent while everyone else fights for her. Yeah, apparently. Fuck, she's useless, isn't she? Yeah, big time. Anyways, Jacob says that he isn't gonna fight either because he wants to stay and protect Bella as well, even though it's pretty clear that Edo is already doing that. So they're already outnumbered and now they've lost 2 perfectly good fighters, all because they just want to protect a girl with the personality of a fucking Windows phone. Yeah, exactly, because Windows phones are fucking shit. Anyway, there's only a bloody snowstorm, isn't there? And then Bella, because she's fucking useless, she starts freezing to death, even though Edo has provided her with a full sleeping bag and a whole camping kit. Jesus Christ, can this chick do anything? Nah, mate. So Edo, he gets worried, and he only calls in old mate Jacob, who's been standing outside the whole time with no clothes on, and he asks him to warm her up. What? I thought he didn't want Jacob anywhere near her. Yeah, he's made that consistently clear, but now this is happening. Anyways, Jacob's warm, sweaty pecs manage to warm her up, so she passes out, and Edo and Jay Dizzle, they start having a conversation about her. But wouldn't she be able to hear their whole conversation? Yeah, she would, but apparently she just doesn't for some reason. Anyways, Jay Dizzle, he's like,
just admit it, Edward. You know I'm better for her.
Oh, and what does Edo say? Well, he tells him that he's full of shit and that there's no way Bella is gonna like his weird red dog penis thing. You know, the kind that pops in and out of the fur when they're horny. Oh, hell, man. Yeah, I know, but he has a point, right? Those things are pretty gross. Anyways, you'll never believe this. Edo says to Jacob that if Bella ever did choose him, then he would just leave them be and he would get on with his life. Is that because he doesn't want her soul to die when she turns into a vampire? Yeah, exactly. Even though there's no scientific evidence proving that souls even exist. Anyways, the next morning, Jacob, he's gone to piss on some trees to mark his territory, and Bella and Edo start talking about their marriage plans. But you'll never believe this. Jacob walks in and hears them. Yeah, how'd you bloody know? Because I'm weirdly invested in this bloody love triangle now and I hate myself for it. I know what you mean. By the third film, I kind of feel like I've been gaslit into caring. It's kind of like that Chinese water torture where they just tie you down to a plank of wood and then drip a single drop of water on your head over and over again like 1,000 times until each drop of water becomes excruciating. I mean, it's nothing like that at all, but go on. Yeah, true, I guess it is nothing like that. Anyways, Jay Dizzle cracks a massive hissy fit, so he goes to run off. But Bella, she runs after him, doesn't she? Why? Well, apparently, even though he sexually assaulted her, she doesn't want him to get hurt in the big battle or something. Anyways, then Bella's like, oh my God, Jacob, don't go. And then he's like,
why? Give me one good reason, Bella.
And then she's like, kiss me. What? But isn't Edo standing like a meter away? Yeah, he is. But they start going at it harder than Paul Walker when he crashed into that tree. He was too fast. and too furious. He lived his life a quarter mile at a time. Anyways, the bloody battle starts, doesn't it? Oh, so this is where all that planning and training comes into play, right? Nah, mate, because apparently the vampire junkies and the Cullens, they just run straight at each other in an open field, don't they? What was the point in all of that then? Your guess is as good as mine, mate. Anyways, the Cullens, they're getting their asses pounded harder than Riley Reid when she did that scene with Mandingo. Gross. When the bloody werewolves rock up, don't they? Oh, nice. This is going to be good. Nah, it's really not, trust me. Anyways, now the werewolves and the vampires, they're fighting side by side. But you're not gonna believe this. Ginger Pubes and that random Riley bloke from the bloody start who got the small paper cut on his hand, well, they're not bloody there, are they? For f***'s sake. So they've spent half the movie training and planning, and literally none of it has been important to the plot. You better believe it, mate. This is Twilight, and in Twilight, there are no rules or logic. Anyways, now we cut back to the battlefield, and now the Cullens and the werewolves, they're the ones tearing up Riley Reid's ass. Gross. And then we just randomly cut to this small child vampire who's hiding in the bushes, scared from all the carnage. Who the hell is she? No clue, mate, but there's this sad music, so I guess they want us to care about her now. Anyways, then we cut back to Bella. And Ginger Pubes and the random bloke Riley, they've bloody found her now, and shit's about to go down. This better be good. You should probably lower your expectations. For f***'s sake. Anyways, then Edo, he tries to talk that random Riley bloke down, because remember there was that one line earlier on in the film where he said he used to know him and that they had this whole friendship that happened entirely off screen? I smell lazy writing. Oh, it's a massive stinkfest up in here. Anyways, Edo's like,
Stop, Riley. Jessica is just using you. Just like that 25-inch dragon Dodo. She has in her dress a drum.
And then Ginger Pubes, she's like,
Don't listen to him. I love you, Riley, even though we've only had that one conversation in the whole film. Also, how do you know about that? F you, Edward.
So what happens? Well, then bloody Jacob sneaks up in his furry costume and he bites Riley's neck, doesn't he? Jesus Christ. I know, right? How's this still PG? Anyways, now it's Edo versus Jessica. Yeah, the optics of this are just terrible, aren't they? Even if he wins, he's still kick the shit out of a woman. I know, right? But the director and the writer don't care about that, so then we get this super lame fight scene that kind of looks like the fetus of Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon's aborted baby. That is so specific. Anyways, Ginger Pubes, she only bloody manages to beat Edo, doesn't she? How? No idea, but just when it looks like she's about to snap his head off, Mortal Kombat style, Bella cuts her bloody arm open, doesn't she? Oh, snap, just like that random woman in the Native American in the wheelchair's story. Exactly, the one who Bella's dad beat up for no reason. Anyways, the smell of blood manages to distract her long enough, so Edo, he goes full Ozzy Osbourne and he bites her head off. Holy shit. I know, right? Then he pisses on her body and burns it just to make sure she's dead. There's no way this is a PG movie. Oh, you better believe it is. Anyways, now that Ginger Pubes is dead, Jacob, Edo and Bella head to the battlefield to see if they can help. And you won't bloody believe this. 3 junkies jump Jacob and they break half the bones in his bloody body. It sounds like they were doing way better before he rocked up. I know, right? Anyways, Carlisle, because he's a good bloke, he says he'll go to their weird wolf shack thing after the battle to help fix him. What about the treaty? Yeah, apparently no one gives a fuck about that anymore. Anyways, he tells the wolves all to go home because apparently Ella Fanning and the North Korean vampires are coming. Hang on. Where are the rest of the New Blood vampires? I don't know, I think they won the battle, but we never actually see that happen, so it's super confusing. And because it's PG, there's no like blood or bodies left, but it's totally okay to bite someone's head off. Yeah, that's fine. Go on then. So then Ella Fanning and her 3 cronies rock up and they all pull their hoods off in unison like they were rehearsing for a K-pop band or something. Anyways, apparently she's pissed off because she doesn't think that she's going to be able to wash the stink of this franchise off and that no one's going to bloody answer her calls in Hollywood anymore. I just checked, it's Dakota Fanning, not Ella. Who cares? Yeah, I guess I don't either. Go on. Anyways, remember that random small vampire girl from before? Well, she's sided with the Cullens now, hasn't she? She is? Yeah, apparently, because why the hell not? And then Ella Fanning says that they're not allowed to keep her. So they start a fight with Ella Fanning to protect the little girl and start a war with North Korea. Nah, mate, they just let him snap her neck, don't they? Jesus Christ, what was the point in that subplot? No idea. Anyway, she says that she's going to tell Michael Sheen, and he's still pissed off that Good Omens won't get renewed for another season because Neil Gaiman likes to sneak into women's bathtubs naked without their permission. Gross. Also, why is he getting into women's bathtubs naked if he's a gay man? What? Nah, mate, it's Neil Gaiman, not gay man. Ah, that makes much more sense. So we cut to the Native American in a wheelchair's house where Carlisle Macaulay Culkin walks out and he's been trying to fix Jacob. Apparently he's been in there for hours, you know, because Jacob is so shit at fighting that he got half of his bones bloody broken. He probably should have actually trained with the Cullens rather than just standing there and watching. Yeah, exactly. Anyways, the old man in the wheelchair thanks Carlisle Macaulay Culkin and then Carlisle says that it's pretty messed up how Bella's dad punched him for no reason. And do they mention the treaty at all? No, mate, he just bloody shakes his hand and then he walks off. For God's sake, why have they spent so long on this treaty in these films if no one's gonna bloody abide by it? What is the point? It's Twilight, mate, don't question it. Anyways, Bella, she goes in to see Jacob. And even though Carlisle was apparently in there for hours working on him, apparently all he's bloody done is put a bandage on his arm. I could have done that. Yeah, same. I'm not really sure why it took him so long to do that. Anyways, Bella tells him that she's still gonna let Edo turn her into a vampire by having him bite her on the vagina. Gross. So then Jacob says,
I'll never give up on you, Bella.
and then Bella's like, oh my god, till my heart stops beating maybe. You know, because she'll be dead, because she'll be a vampire. And then Jay Dizzle, he's like,
maybe even then.
lame. Also, why has he fought so hard to stop her if he doesn't actually care and he's just gonna keep loving her anyways? No idea. So anyways, Edo and Bella, they're back in the field where she was doing homework at the start of the movie. You know, the one where he forced himself on her. And they're talking about their wedding. Apparently Alice is planning the whole thing because they're best friends, even though we never actually see them talk. So the date is finally set. So we don't even get to see them get married or her get turned into a vampire in this film. Nah, mate, of course they're gonna milk that for about 10 more books. This ending sucks. If I was to tell you that I just watched a movie where a woman gets pregnant, immediately develops cancer, and then delivers that baby 3 days later, only to have a grown man fall in love with that very same baby, what would you say? I'd say you've probably suffered a severe brain injury, or you've just watched another bloody Twilight film. That's right, so this train wreck of a movie opens up with Jacob ripping off his shirt and running off into the rain on his way to a furry convention. Does Bella have another one of her shit monologues to start the film? Oh, you better believe it. She's going on about how childhood is the kingdom where nobody dies.
Childhood is the kingdom where nobody dies.
What the hell does that mean? Yeah, no idea. And it's complete bullshit if you ask me. Children die all the time. That's true. Which either means that there's no God or he's just a massive cunt. No arguments from me, mate. Anyways, old mate Billy, he wheels out after him and he's like,
Jacob!
Who's he? Remember the Native American guy in a wheelchair that Bella's dad beat up in the first film for no reason at all? It was really messed up, right? Anyways, like I said, Jacob runs off into the bloody woods, which you can tell he totally does on purpose because he knows that Billy can't follow him there. You know, because his legs don't work. That's a bit out of pocket. Yeah, but remember, Jacob, he's a full-blown psycho. I still feel like he's slightly better than Edward, though. Oh, just you wait, mate. This movie's gonna put an end to that debate once and for all. Jesus Christ, I'm not even sure I want to know. Anyways, Billy the legless kid leans down and picks up a piece of paper that Jacob the furry threw on the ground in anger before he left. What is it? Did he get a parking fine? Nah, mate, it's only a bloody invite to Bella and Edo the pedo's wedding, isn't it? Oh, snap. No wonder he's pissed. That's right. Then we cut to Sea-Dog, Bella's dad, the only one in town with a functioning brain, and he looks even more gutted than Jacob. You know, because he's a cop and he can smell a pedo from a mile away. Cops can smell pedos? Yeah, I think that's something they get trained to do on like day one of cop school. That'd be a weird first day on the job. Hey, smell this pedo for me, would ya? Right, anyways, then we see a bunch of people get their invites, like Bella's mum. You know, the one who was too busy going to rave parties and copping stray dick rather than raise her daughter, and a bunch of other people we don't care about, until finally we cut to Bella, who's making an absolute dog's breakfast of walking in some high heel shoes. Wait, so she's just walking in high heels. This doesn't really sound like a compelling start to the movie. Oh, you bloody know it, mate, because this movie was made in the 2010s when movie executives loved splitting books into 2 movies to make more money, even when they barely had enough story to cover one film. Oh, for does that mean we have to watch another one of these? Yeah, sorry about that, mate. Anyways, Bella, she tells Alice to go piss off and sit on a greasy fat one because she doesn't want to wear high heels. She wants to go to her wedding barefoot, like she's a fucking hobbit on her way to throw the One Ring into the fires of Mount Doom or something. Why would she do that? Well, my best guess is that Bella's mum drank a lot of alcohol while she was still in the womb and her brain was still developing. Yeah, that would make a lot of sense based on all the choices she makes in this franchise, right? Anyways, this whole scene drags on way too long, and for some reason the hair and makeup department decided to make both women look like they were fucking wood elves, even though they're supposed to be vampires. Are elves even in Twilight? Nah, mate, just in Lord of the Rings, and cosplay pornos on RedTube. Oh, okay, fair enough. Anyways, next we cut to Bella's bedroom at night, and Edo's lurking there like he's bloody Bill Cosby, and he tells Bella that before they get married, he's got to confess a big secret to her. You mean like the fact that he's over 100 years old and he's been dating high school girls for over a century? Like he's some sort of middle-aged white businessman who goes to Thailand every summer? No, mate, he told her that on like the first date, and because she's borderline mentally handicapped, you know, because her mum drank while she was still in the womb, she was totally cool with it. I feel like this franchise is a worse role model for women than Bonnie Blue. That's a pretty close battle, mate. But get this, Edo tells her that he was only a bloody serial killer before he met her. I mean, at this point, I'm not bloody surprised. Anyways, we get this flashback of him as a young vampire like 100 years ago, where he's stalking this young woman at the opera and he follows her out into a deserted hallway. Oh, shit. He's not, I'm not gonna say it, but it rhymes with grapes. Well, it doesn't look bloody good, does it, mate? But then get this. He only bloody pulls an Uno reverse card on her. Turns out some other bloke who looks like he listens to way too much red pill content on YouTube is following her out as well. But
but then Edo bloody swoops in and bites his fucking head off. So he's a serial killer who only kills serial killers. Did Twilight just rip off Dexter? They didn't rip off the finale though, where he drives his boat into a CGI hurricane. They really did shit the bed with that finale though. They sure did, like an 80-year-old man with IBS on Taco Tuesday. Gross. Anyways, Edo tells Bella that this was because he rebelled against Carlisle Macaulay Culkin for a while, when he was first turned into a sharp-toothed, sparkly-skinned fuckboy. So what does Bella say when he tells her that he was a serial killer? Well, she only bloody loves it, doesn't she? Of course she does. This chick is fucked in the head. She sure is, mate. Anyways, then Edo's mates, Emmett and Jasper, stick their heads in the window like they're bloody Woody Woodpecker or something, and then they tell Edo that he has to go to his bachelor party. So then they all run off into the woods just laughing for some reason. That's a bit weird. Why are they laughing? Mate, you can kind of tell that the author of this book had no real supportive men in her life growing up, because she kind of thinks that all men do when they're alone is slap each other on the backs and laugh like they're monkeys who are throwing shit at each other. I'm not going to lie, I do actually know some blokes that behave like that. Yeah, me too. The kind of blokes that still think wrestling is real, even though they're full-grown men. Anyways, then Bella makes one of the shittest jokes I've ever heard in my entire life.
I'll meet you at the altar.
Be the one in white.
And then she goes to sleep instantly, like she's a single 30-year-old mum who's overdosed on Valium just to get a few minutes peace and quiet. That's so specific. And then we cut to the big bloody wedding, don't we? Already. But what about the Bucks party? Oh, you better believe we never see that plot line again. Anyways, this whole scene is super lame, and it's filled with all these CGI rose petals that are just falling from the sky. Where are they even supposed to be coming from? No idea, but get this. Just when Bella's about to say I do, the bloody Voltari show up. You mean the North Korean Vampire Council run by Michael Sheen? That's the one, mate. And they don't look bloody happy at all, do they? But get this, the bloody CGI rose petals turn into CGI blood, and then the camera pans out and Edo and Bella are standing on a CGI mountain of bodies in front of a CGI skyline. That is too much CGI. Oh, it's way too much CGI. So this was just a dream, wasn't it? Of course it was, because remember how Bella always has these weird dreams that they kind of insinuate are premonitions, but they never actually follow through on those premonitions, and they kind of just waste the viewer's valuable time watching them? Yeah? Yeah, well, it's one of those. Whatever, I don't care. Neither do I. Anyways, we cut to Bella getting her makeup done by Alice. And you'll never believe who offers to bloody help. Terrence Howard? What? Well, he never came back for Iron Man 2, so I thought that maybe Twilight would throw him a bone. No, mate, it's not fucking Terrence Howard.
Next time, baby.
It's bloody Rosalie, isn't it? So what? Well, she hates Bella, doesn't she? I repeat. So what? Well, she's always disliked Bella since Edo and her started dating. But they're only bloody friends now, aren't they? I can't even make this sound interesting. I'm so glad that the studios have stopped splitting single books into 2 fucking movies. Me too. This is so boring. I've already checked my phone like 10 times already. Yeah, me too. And I'm the one telling the bloody story. Come on, focus or we'll never get through this. Whoops, sorry. So what happens at the actual wedding? Mate, sweet fuck all. We briefly see her mates, My Chemical Romance, Mike and Anna Kendrick, who are wondering why they're even in this franchise anymore. And then Sea-Dog has to walk her down the aisle for what seems like 4 bloody hours. Honestly, I had enough time to go take a huge dump. And when I came back, they were still bloody walking. Sounds like the director put everything he shot into this film to really pad that runtime. Oh, you better believe he did, because Edo and Bella say their vows, and then no shit, like everyone in the town gets up to tell a bloody speech. Ugh, seriously? Wedding speeches are the worst. You're kind of socially obligated to laugh when someone tells a terrible joke. You're telling me I'd rather stick a cactus up my dick hole than listen to one. Gross. On the plus side though, Sea-Dog gives a funny speech where he starts talking about how Edward is going to be very well behaved as her husband because he's a cop, and he has a bloody gun. He really is the only good character in this whole franchise, isn't he? He sure is, mate, but you can also see the sinking depression in the back of his eyes because he knows that it's his daughter's wedding night and her virginity's only hanging on by a thread. Gross. Anyways, next we have the wedding reception, and let me tell you, it has more unnecessary drama than a Spanish soap opera. Dear God. So what happens now? Well, Edo's cousins from another vampire sect rock up, don't they? Are these characters important to the plot at all? No, not at all, mate. But one of them is Shannon from Lost. She's pissed, right? Because they killed her character in the 2nd season. And she's also pissed that Bella's invited Billy the Legless Kid and his furry friends to the party. So it's like a vampire-werewolf rivalry thing. Okay, so this could be interesting. No, it's not at all, mate, because weirdly, all the other vampires seem totally cool with it. Despite the fact that the werewolves and vampires are supposed to have been rivals for like the last 100 years. Makes sense to me. Anyways, apparently the reason she's pissed is because the wolves murdered her mate Laurent in the 3rd movie. Who? Remember the black dude with dreadlocks from the 1st movie who was bad, then switched sides for no reason, only to switch sides again for no reason? Oh yeah, that guy was really confusing. Yeah, well,
Apparently she knew him. Anyways, thankfully Brian Moser from Dexter tells Shannon from Lost to piss off and go sit on a greasy fat one because she's making a goddamn fool of herself. So that plotline fizzles faster than a SpaceX rocket on launch day. Those rockets are crashing harder than Elon Musk after a ketamine binge. Anyways, I'm going to skip through a bunch of this shit because honestly, if I went through it all, I feel like you and I both might unalive ourselves before we even finish filming. Yeah, fair point. So then Edo tells Bella that he's got another big old bloody secret, doesn't he? Has he decided to turn himself into the police for all the people he murdered? Ah, mate, he takes Bella out into the woods. You'll never guess who's bloody there. The Green Ranger from the 1990s series The Power Rangers? No, mate, it's bloody Jacob. Oh, that makes much more sense. And Bella, she's shocked, right? Because he's actually wearing a shirt for once. And because no one's actually heard from him since he started running at the start of the movie, which apparently he hasn't stopped because he's like Forrest Gump or something. So what does he want? Well, apparently Edo has arranged this meeting just for Bella. So he's arranged his main sexual competitor and enemy, Jacob, to come and visit his wife at his wedding. The wife that he clearly wants to bang over his dead corpse. Yeah, mate. Why? Well, because this was written as a teenage girl's fantasy, and the writer wants to heavily insinuate that if the two men just put aside their macho facades, then Bella could cop a sweet werewolf vampire DP session. Gross. Anyways, Edo leaves them to speak, and the two of them have a slow, sensual dance. But get this, the moment is totally ruined when Bella tells Jacob that she can feel his hard, weird red dog penis thing through his pants, and that she's gonna let Edo take her butthole's virginity tonight. There's no way she says that. Well, no, she doesn't, but it's heavily implied, trust me. Of course it is. Go on. Well, Jacob, he only bloody loses his shit, doesn't he? Then he starts trying to fight Edo, but his weird werewolf mates, who were apparently just hanging out in the bushes nearby, they pull him off him, worried that he might start a war between the vampires and the werewolves. You mean the war that they keep threatening with this franchise but never actually let happen? Yeah, mate, that's the one. Anyway, Sam, the leader of the wolves, he tells Jacob J. Dizzle to pull his bloody head in and stop acting like a sex pest, so they all just run off into the woods. So what was he so upset about? Well, he's worried that Bella having sex with a vampire while she's still a human might kill her. You know, because vampires' cocks are supposed to be so strong that they can apparently lift up a whole bus with them. Gross, that's not a thing. Nah, it's not, but it's heavily implied. It's heavily implied, yes. Anyways, next we cut to Edo and Bella leaving the wedding, and for some reason, everyone's giving them a round of bloody applause. So everyone's applauding the fact that a 110-year-old man is about to take an 18-year-old's virginity? Yeah, it's super dark. Anyways, Sea-Dog and Bella's mum both say goodbye to her at the car, don't they? And her mum, she's crying, isn't she? Saying how much she's gonna miss her. Which is really weird because she's barely been a part of Bella's life for the past 5 years, so I don't know what that's about. Yeah, that's true. That woman has mental issues. She sure does. And then Sea-Dog, he tells her that she can come home whenever she wants, and that he's made a chastity belt for her. You know, like the ones they used to make women wear in the Middle Ages? He's never gonna get over this, is he? Nah, mate. Anyways, get this. No one bloody knows where they're going on their honeymoon, do they? Why not? Oh, because Edo's kept it a bloody secret from everyone, hasn't he? Why? No idea, it's never explained. Anyways, Bella and Edo only arrive in Rio de Janeiro, don't they? So Edo has taken her to one of the world's leading cities for kidnappings. Yeah, true, that's a good point. But get this. They aren't going to Rio bloody de Janeiro, are they? They aren't? Why not? Well, because Edo gets her on a boat and says they're going somewhere else. Why didn't he just take her there in the first place then? This seems like a completely pointless detour. Absolutely, mate. More pointless than turning this story into 2 bloody movies. Anyways, he takes her out into the middle of the ocean on a small boat like he's bloody Dexter Morgan after he's killed someone. This is our 3rd Dexter reference for this episode. Maybe we need to sharpen it up a bit and keep things fresh. Yeah, true. F you. Anyways, they get to Isle bloody Esme, don't they? Isle Esme. Are we supposed to know what that is? Nah, mate, of course not. Had to bloody look it up. Apparently Edo's fake dad Carlisle named it after Edo's fake mum Esme. Apparently he bought her the island as a wedding gift. So Edo is taking his wife to bang her in his parents' bed. That's a bit out of pocket, isn't it? Yeah, true, but remember, he's a 100-year-old pedo, so this is totally on brand for him. Oh yeah, that's true. Also, Carlisle having his own island seemed a little bit too close to Jeffrey Epstein, doesn't it? Yeah, good point. Anyway, so they get to the island and Bella starts leaking from the gash, desperate to see Edo's sparkly, shiny vampire sausage. So she pushes him outside, and we get a montage of her shaving her legs, brushing her teeth, and trying on sexy underwear that apparently Edo's fake sister Alice bought for her. It's a bit weird that Edo's sister is so involved in his sex life. Yeah, mate, but this series is so messed up that something like that doesn't even bloody register anymore. So then she walks outside onto the beach naked and joins Edo for a good old-fashioned skinny dip. Well, what was the point in all that sexy underwear then? Mate, your guess is as good as mine. I was struggling not to fall asleep in this fucking shit. Anyways, they start making out like they're trying to fuse their faces together, and then they finally make their way to the bedroom. Nice. Then what happens? Mate, what do you think? They bang so hard that they break the bloody bed and ruin the whole goddamn house. Jesus Christ. Wait, let me guess, that didn't actually happen, but
It's heavily implied. No, mate, that actually happens. Then an old Spanish couple come into the house to try and fix the broken bed and clean up all of Edo's sparkly vampire jizz. Okay, gross. Anyways, they just watch this poor elderly Spanish couple clean up the whole house like entitled rich cunts when Edo sees the bruises on Bella's arms. Oh shit, is she getting leukemia or something? Nah, mate, although that comment's weirdly gonna become valid later on in the film. Nah, she's got bruises from all the rough vampire sex they had last night, hasn't she? I see. And these movies, they're still PG, right? Yeah, mate, because they never show sex or violence in this series, even though they imply it in just about every bloody scene. Fair enough then, so what happens next? Well, Edo, he's bloody gutted, isn't he? Because he swore he'd never hurt Bella. And now he's gone and bruised her neck like he's been watching too much of that choking porn on bloody Vampire Hub. So then he's like,
I can never touch you again, Bella.
And then Bella's like,
Oh my God, Edward, I'm like totally into getting bruises because I have daddy issues, even though my dad is like totally chill.
No, Bella. I won't have sex with you ever again!
Okay, is this seriously a plot line? Yeah, mate. And then we get this boring ass montage of them on the island having their honeymoon, and he keeps pulling away from her every time she wants to get his hard vampire bone up in her gash. Gross. He even takes her on this really long hike one day so that she's too tired to ask him for sex when she gets home. What the hell even is this film? They both wanted to bone each other for like 4 bloody films, and now he just doesn't want to? Yeah, but remember, this film is written for teenage girls who are into furries and 50 Shades of Grey. Oh yeah, that's true actually. Anyways, one day Bella gets so frustrated that she just leaps on him, and Edo's sparkly penis starts pulsating so hard that he can't bloody resist her. So, they bang again. And let me guess, you don't actually see anything because it's PG. Oh, you bloody know it, mate, but get this. Bella wakes up one morning and Edo's bloody gone, isn't he? Oh shit, so what does she do? Well, she just opens the fridge and eats some chicken that looks like it's incredibly off. That doesn't really sound like a good idea. Yeah, it's not. And then she freaks out because she realises that the chicken is incredibly off, so she goes and vomits in the dunny harder than Johnny Sin's cock. Gross. And this is when the movie takes like a really sharp left turn. Edo rocks up. He's back now, apparently. And he's like,
Oh, gross, Bella. I'm not going to kiss you anymore.
Then Bella's like,
Oh my God, Edward, I'm late. I'm late.
What do you mean you're late? We don't have to go anywhere. We've been on this bloody island for half the movie.
No, you fucking idiot. I mean, I think I'm pregnant.
Oh!
that wasn't on my bingo card. You're telling me. Like I said, this is a really sharp left turn. Wait, she can't be pregnant. How long have they been on this bloody island? Fuck, mate. To me, it felt like 5 bloody years, but apparently they've only been on this island for 3 days. This makes no sense at all. I think I need a drink as well. Have you got another one of those? Yeah, I do, but you can't have one, you selfish bastard. All right then, go on. Well, get this. She's not only pregnant, but she's already bloody showing, isn't she? What do you mean? Well, she's growing a big old baby bump in her belly, isn't she? Fucking I thought this couldn't get any weirder. Just you wait, mate, because it gets way weirder than this. Of course it does, because this is fucking Twilight. Because that old Spanish lady comes back again and she starts yelling at Bella's baby, calling it the devil. Jesus Christ, how does she even know what's going on? Well, we're given like this throwaway line about them serving the family for generations, but none of it explains how she's able to immediately sense that Bella's pregnant and that the baby is evil. So it's all just a confusing waste of time that made me want to go and angrily jerk off in a cupboard. I'm not even going to question why that makes you want to jerk off. Yeah, it confused my psychologist too. Actually, she quit the next day after I told her that. I can't say that I blame her. Anyways, get this. Alice calls because she's had another one of her shitty visions. Ah, you mean the ones that rarely come true and she probably just has psychosis. Yeah, those ones. Except this one did come true. What? Anyways, Edo grabs the phone off Bella, which is a bit rude if you ask me, and then he starts talking to Carlisle, and he's like,
Carlisle, is this even possible? I thought I had the vampire snip.
The vampire snip? Yeah, apparently vampires bite off each other's testicles so they can't get anyone pregnant anymore. Ouch. Anyways, Carlisle must say something pretty bloody dramatic because Edo starts packing their bags with that really shit speed effect that they do. I mean, this is weird as fuck, but at least something's finally happening. Yeah, exactly. At this point, the audience is kind of feeling like a person dying of dehydration in the desert being offered a single drop of water. Maybe that was their plan. You mean their plan was to make a movie so insanely boring that when something finally did happen, the audience would be hooked? Yeah, I mean, it's weirdly kind of worked on me. Yeah, me too. Anyways, we cut to Jay Dizzle, who gets home to find Sea Dog's police car parked out the front. And when he gets inside, Billy wheels up to him to try and calm him down. But Jacob, being the piece of shit that he is, just looks over his head like he can't see him at all. What's Jacob got against people in wheelchairs? No idea, mate. Anyway, Sea Dog, he walks up And he's like, Bella called. She's extending her trip.
So you finally heard from her?
Yeah, she said she's unwell. She ate some bad street food. And she says she's shitting buckets into a hotel toilet. Gross. Yeah, but old Jay Dizzle doesn't believe this for a second. He reckons he could smell Bella's shit no matter where she was. So he heads straight for the Cullens house. Wait, why would the first thing Sea-Dog does when he hears from his daughter be to go to the guy's house who he knows she punched in the face because he forced himself on her in the last movie? Mate, I have no idea. They really breezed over that whole plot line. Everyone in this town is acting like they have frontal lobe dementia and that the events of the last film didn't take place at all. I mean, I know these movies are badly written, but Jesus Christ. Anyways, Jacob rocks up at the Cullens on his motorbike and he storms up to the front door and confronts Carlisle.
Where is she? All right, you got me. She got home 2 weeks ago. Just a little Cullen prankaroo.
Prankaroo?
Who even says that? I do. That's who. Just let me fucking see her. All right, Jacob, fine. But you should prepare yourself for something.
What has he got to prepare himself for? Well, you should probably prepare yourself for this too, actually, mate. Jesus Christ, what now? Jacob storms in, right? But Rosalie, who's now Bella's protector for some reason, gets in his way. And then she's like,
You shall not pass.
Isn't that Gandalf? Oh yeah, wrong movie. Anyways, Jacob tells her to get the hell out of his way or he's going to punch her in her left flap, which is a bit out of pocket, but kind of on brand for Jacob at this point. That never happens, does it? Nah, but it's heavily implied, trust me. Anyways, he finally gets a look at Bella, doesn't he? And let me tell you, mate, she looks like she's got stage 4 cancer. But get this, she's now got a full-on prego belly as well. What? That's really fucking weird. I know, right? And get this, apparently the baby, it's growing so fast that it's literally sucking the life out of it. Kinda sounds like the woman who wrote this really doesn't like babies. Yeah, it does seem that way, which is weird because she's a Mormon and there's way too many of those cunts walking around. Anyways, Jacob, he starts begging Carlisle to save her life, even though he was just rude to him at the front door and he's bloody walked dog shit through the whole house. Ouch. Yeah, I've done that before on a date. There was no coming back from that. I bet there wasn't. But Bella tells him to piss off and go sit on a greasy fat one because apparently she doesn't want his help. She wants to have the baby, even if it bloody kills her. I thought I knew where this was going, but now I'm just completely lost. Me too, mate. Anyways, Edo says to Jay Dizzle that he needs to talk to him outside.
Listen, Jacob, I know we haven't always seen eye to eye, but I need you to do something for me. Huh, yeah, piss off, you sparkly boy. All right then, do it for her, please.
Interesting. So they're working together to try and save her. What's Edo's big plan? Yeah, nothing, mate, because he just asks Jacob to go and bloody talk to her. That is a terrible plan. You know it, mate. But it only bloody works. Jay Dizzle agrees and he goes in to speak to Bella. But before he does, he tells Edo that his new haircut is shit ass. What were they thinking with that one? No idea. Anyways, Jacob goes in to talk to Bella and he offers to push her down the stairs to get rid of the baby. But she tells him that she wants to keep it, doesn't she? So then he cracks a massive hissy fit outside and he kicks over his motorbike and ruins a perfectly good leather jacket by throwing it on the ground. And then he runs off into the forest in his furry costume and almost gets hit by a car. Why does he do that? No idea, mate. And the people in the car, they're super shocked, right? They're thinking, why didn't the studio spend more money on these werewolf transformations if they knew that they were going to use them in every film? Well, I guess they've got a point there. Anyways, just when you thought this movie might start making sense again, Jacob starts hearing a bunch of voices in his head. And then you see a bunch of other werewolves and they're hearing voices in their head as well. So the wolves are all like paranoid schizophrenics or something? Yeah, I think so, maybe. Shut up. Anyways, the wolves all run into this big opening and Jacob, or at least I think it's Jacob, it's really hard to tell because the graphics are so bad, he tells all the other wolves about the weird cancer baby in Bella's belly. That's a fucking mouthful. What is even going on right now? And to make it even weirder, there are all these half-drawn swastikers on the logs behind them. So they're like Nazi wolves? Yeah, I think so. Anyways, the wolves are all pissed about this baby because of reasons they never really explain. And then the head wolf, a big black wolf, says that he wants to break the treaty and kill that bloody baby. Why? No idea, mate. Maybe he was friends with that old Spanish lady from the start of the film who called the baby a devil. Anyways, Jacob, apparently he doesn't want to kill the baby now. So him and that big black dog get into a bit of a scuffle and then they pull out their weird red furry dog penises and they start measuring them in front of everyone. Gross. Anyways, then Jacob has some rant about how he's the descendant of a clan chief, so his red cock is royalty or something. And then he runs off to tell the Cullens that the werewolves are coming for them. So hang on, let me get this straight. He ran off from the Cullens house to tell the wolves about the baby at the Cullens house. And now he's running back to the Cullens house to tell them that he told the wolves about the baby in the first place.
face. Yeah, mate, that actually happens in the movie. Jesus Christ, this sucks. So now there's a division in the wolf pack. The big black dog, which is apparently his mate Sam, the leader of the wolf pack from the second film, I had to look that up because they just expected us to know that somehow, versus Jacob, the Cullens, and some weird kid werewolf we barely know, and that chick from Dexter New Blood, who's apparently still upset that they shit the bed on the finale twice. I was wondering when she would come back. Anyways, Jacob tells her about how Sam thinks that the treaty is void now because of their weird vampire baby thing, which is information we kind of already knew, and it kind of feels like Sam is deliberately misreading the treaty using some sort of weird crackhead logic, kind of like how Steve Bannon thinks that a president can serve 3 terms. Come on, mate, no politics here. Anyways, we cut to Emmett and Carlisle having a bloody chinwag. Emmett wants to do something about those bloody wolves, but Carlisle says he's not going to be the one to break that bloody treaty, even though both sides have already broken that treaty about 5 times in the previous films. Yeah, that's true. Why do they keep going on about it then? Yeah, no clue. Anyways, you can tell that Emmett just wants to get out some frustration because they've given him a really shitty haircut as well. What's going on with the hair and makeup department in this movie? First they make Bella and Alice look like they're cosplay elves in some sort of back alley porno, and now this? Yeah, I think someone took a piss in a nearby reservoir where they were making this movie, and that person had rampant STIs. So now everyone in the crew has some sort of brain parasite because they drank the water. Gross. Anyways, now Jacob and his new little crew of werewolves start to patrol the perimeter of the Cullens' property to make sure they're safe. But wouldn't they be like massively outnumbered? Yeah, mate, but don't worry, they jog really slowly and loudly so that everyone in a 5-mile radius would hear them. What would that do? Nothing. I just thought it was stupid and I wanted to point it out. Fair enough. Anyways, next up we see that Bella, she's getting worse. And Carlisle, who apparently has a full-on x-ray machine and doctor's surgery in his bloody living room, he's like,
her ribs are cracked. It's crushing you from the inside out, Bella. Carlisle, tell her what you told me.
At this rate, your heart is going to give out before you have the baby, Bella.
Oh my God, then I'll just have to hold out as long as I can.
I can't live without you, Bella. How am I supposed to look at the baby knowing it killed you like it was a weird baby xenomorph or something?
Oh my God, Edward, that's the wrong franchise.
I wish I was watching one of those movies right now instead of listening to you tell me about this one. You're telling me, mate, I'd even watch Alien Covenant over this film. And that movie is horse shit on ice. Why on ice? Dunno. Anyways, the next scene we get a shot of Bella going for a bath. She takes off her robes and she looks completely emaciated. Jesus, they're really milking this, aren't they? And to make things worse, Edo is standing in the doorway staring daggers at her, which kind of makes it look like he's just judging her for her sickly body, which is another thing to add to the list of terrible ways this franchise portrays women. What a cunt. Anyway, she keeps getting worse and worse, right? And because vampires' bodies are cold, Jacob offers to come in and cuddle her to warm her up, which you can tell, even though she's looking a bit rough now, still gets Jacob's little wolf penis as hard as a cinder block. Gross. So then we find out that Bella is not only dying, but now the baby's bloody dying too, because it's not accepting any of the food that Bella's eating. And then Alice comes in and she's like,
if only I could have a vision about the baby, then I could know what it wants.
What does she mean, what it wants? Wouldn't it just want to like drink breast milk and cry and shit everywhere like every other baby? Yeah, true, but get this. Turns out because the baby is half vampire, it wants to drink blood, doesn't it? And not just any old blood, human blood. Snap, so that's why the baby's draining the life out of her. Well, you bloody know it, mate. But then Carlisle, he has an idea, doesn't he? Apparently he's been storing some of Bella's blood in the fridge. So he goes to the cooler and grabs out a pint of it like it's a bloody Coke Zero or something, and he tells Bella that she's got to neck it. Wait, why does she have to drink her own blood and not someone else's? Why does Carlisle have so much of it? You know they'll never give us a satisfying answer for any of that, mate. Anyways, this is it, right? The big moment to see if Carlisle's harebrained scheme is going to work. And Jasper, he has to leave because he gets junky cravings whenever he sees blood. Even worse than Elon Musk does when he comes down from a ketamine binge. And then Jacob, he's so disgusted watching Bella drink all that blood that he throws up all over his weird red dog penis thing. Gross, man. Why do you have to keep mentioning that? Dunno. I just think they're really weird, don't you? But get this. It only bloody works, doesn't it? Of course it does. So Bella, she's now drinking a shit ton of her own blood every day. And she's starting to look healthier all the time. And what's even weirder is that they're giving her own blood in these weird disposable cups. It kind of makes it look like she's just drinking from a 7-Eleven Slurpee cup or something. Why do the Cullens have so many of these disposable cups just lying around? Because this movie is written worse than any of the Disney live-action remakes, mate. Even worse than Snow White. Okay, maybe it's not as bad as that one. But get this, Edo, he's only bloody decided he loves the baby now that Bella's feeling better, and he says that he can read the baby's thoughts. Because remember how he said that he could do that in the first film and it's
barely ever been mentioned again. But get this, Bella's getting worse again. How do we know that? Because the script says she is. Do they give any reason why? No, the scriptwriters just know that you need to ramp up tension when you're transitioning from the second act into the third one. So they literally just have a character say, she's getting worse. Smells like lazy writing. Oh, you better believe it, mate. It smells worse than Jeffrey Epstein's basement. Gross. Anyways, the bloody place is surrounded by werewolves now, isn't it? And Carlisle, he's like,
we're running out of blood. Bella won't last much longer.
And don't forget, you need to feed yourself, Carlisle.
I'll be fine. I just need to help Bella.
Why is Carlisle willing to risk his entire family for a girl that in the scheme of things they barely even know? Because shut the hell up, that's why. Anyways, Jacob, he's like,
I know what I have to do.
So, is he going to tell us, or? Nah, mate, we just get this weird scene where Jake walks into the woods to talk to the other wolves, who've apparently just been waiting there the whole time because they walk out almost immediately. Interesting. What does he say? Well, he tells them that they have to take the small kid who no one cares about back into their wolf pack, and the girl from Dexter New Blood as well, because he thinks that even though that show did end badly, she still might be able to salvage her career. I guess so. I mean, there is Dexter Resurrection coming out. It's already out, mate. Why does it feel like we're doing an ad for Dexter Resurrection right now? Yeah, true. But let's be honest, they'll probably fuck up the ending of that one too. Anyways, get this. Jacob's like,
tell Sam that when the time comes, I'll be the one to destroy it. I'm the only one who can.
So he's betraying the Cullens, even though he's already betrayed them? And he's betrayed the werewolves for very flimsy reasons. You know it, mate, but get this. We cut to Carlisle and Esme running out of the forest to go get help for Bella. So he betrays the wolves again. That's right. And this time for even flimsier reasons. This guy loves bloody betrayals, doesn't he? He sure does. So Jacob, he comes in to see how Bella's feeling, and we get probably the worst scene in the entire film, where Bella tells him her choices for the baby's name.
If it's a boy, I want to call it EJ, short for Edward Jacobs.
So Edo's totally cool with her just naming their child after her other on and off again boyfriend. Apparently she just wants to name her baby after everyone she bloody knows. Kind of like how Harry Potter did at the end of the 7th book. Yeah, that was a weird choice. But then she tells him the girl's name, which is even worse. It's a combination of their mum's names, Renee and Esme. I don't see how those two names go together at all. Prepare yourself. Renesmee. Holy shit. You can't call the baby that. It's going to get destroyed at school. No one's going to respect a person with a name like that, right? Would anyone trust a doctor called Renesmee? No, mate. I'd think they were going to sprinkle some parsley on me and tell me that they'd cured my cancer by aligning my chi with Pluto. Exactly. Anyways, the next scene is probably the worst in the entire film. But you just said that that scene was the worst one in the film. I did? Oh, yeah. Well, sorry, I forgot about this one. It's because you've drank like 5 of those beers while you've been bloody talking to me. Only 5, really. I thought it was more. You seem to have a lot of them. Are you sure I can't have one? No, piss off. Anyways, I can't even begin to describe what happens in this scene, so I'm just gonna bloody show you. Okay, what the f is happening now? Apparently her spine just snapped. No idea why. But this means that she's going to have the baby right now. Sounds like she just needs a wheelchair, not to have a bloody baby. Yeah, but you've seen how this series treats people in wheelchairs. Oh yeah, true. They really hate people in wheelchairs. So get this, they call Carlisle to come and help, but he can't make it back on time because he's getting chased by all the furries who've surrounded the house. So what happens? Well, Edo the pedo only has to perform a bloody C-section on her, doesn't he? That's an incredibly complicated procedure. He'd have no idea how to do it, right? Well, apparently Rosalie, the girl who hated Bella and now loves her so much that she's her own personal bodyguard, she can tell that the placenta has detached because she kind of side-glanced at her stomach very briefly. That doesn't make any sense at all. I know, right? So now she tells Jacob that the baby is dying. So Bella's like, oh my God, get the baby out of me right now. And Edo, he's gutted because he knows he's gonna fuck this up worse than this franchise fucked up a generation of impressionable young women. That's pretty fucked up. It sure is, mate. But Edo, he totally bitches out. And now Rosalie, she's the one that has to bloody cut her open. But then she starts tweaking like a junkie because she smells Bella's blood. So then Jacob spear tackles her at like 50 miles an hour and bloody breaks her ribs. You mean that Jacob, a massively muscly man who spends 12 hours a day at the gym, tackles a tiny woman? I'd like to say that I'm surprised, but I'm really not at this point. Yeah, mate, he's bloody cooked. And remember, he gets far worse by the end of this film. Dear God. Now the baby's bloody dying, isn't it? And Jacob, he's like,
you've got to save her, you bloody pedo. Bite her or something. Turn her into a sparkly boy. Can't, Jacob. Not when the baby is still in there.
Sounds like the writers just made that reason up. They sure did, mate. mate, but get this. Edo only bloody bites her, doesn't he? Didn't he just say that he wouldn't bite her? Yeah, I know. Anyways, they managed to get the baby out with no training at all, and now Edo's doing this super creepy smile because he's got Bella's blood all over his face because he bit her like 4,000 times. And he's like,
It's a baby Renesmee.
that baby stands no chance. Its parents are borderline mentally handicapped, and its name is going to inspire bullies from different states to migrate here just to bloody pick on it. I know, right? Anyways, Bella dies. What? Yeah, it's super lame. She just kind of smiles at the baby with gaunt CGI makeup on her face, and then she stops breathing. What the hell? So then Edo, he starts freaking out and he starts biting her all over her body, like that's gonna bloody help. So he pulls out this big bloody needle and he says he's gonna inject venom into her bloody heart. Venom? Wait, so she's gonna like turn into Bane or something?
I was born in the darkness. You merely adopted it. It would be very painful for you.
Nah, mate, she's not going to be Bane. It's from his fangs or some bullshit like that. It's supposed to turn her into a vampire quicker or something. Okay, does it work? Well, here's the thing. We get one of those lame CGI sequences where you go into her bloodstream and you see it start changing her DNA and molecular structure. So it does work. I mean, obviously it has, but then the movie still tries to get us to believe that she's dead, even though they just showed us that she wasn't. What the hell? I know, right? Then we get all these shots of people reacting to her death, and then the werewolves, they go to old mate Billy in the wheelchair's house, and they tell him that the baby's killed Bella. So now they're gonna go and kill the baby? I thought that's what they were already planning to do. Yeah, but apparently now they actually will. So why the hell did they wait this long then? Dude, like they're ever gonna give us that information. Yeah, true. I don't even know why I'm still asking questions at this point. Anyways, there's this big battle out the front of the house between the Cullens and the CGI werewolves, which I feel like would look hilarious behind the scenes because you can totally tell that the actors were told to just punch and kick the air randomly. Yeah, that looks terrible. Okay, so I need you to brace yourself. This is where the film gets really fucking weird. You mean that it's not weird already? Oh, it totally is, but this puts the franchise from a badly written sequence of movies into the full-on batshit crazy territory. Go on then. Okay, so Jacob, he sneaks into the Cullens' house while they're all distracted, right? And he sneaks up on Rosalie, who's holding Bella's CGI baby. Why is the baby CGI? No idea, but let me tell you, this CGI baby makes the CGI baby in Squid Game look like high fucking art, because this thing is bloody terrifying. Jesus Christ! I know, right? But shut the hell up, that's not the point. So Jacob, he's sneaking in like he's gonna kill the baby. But wasn't he just pretending he was gonna kill the baby so that Carlisle and Esme could go get help? Yeah, he sure was, but they kind of hope that you've forgotten about that at this point and that you believe that he's actually gonna do it now. Well, I don't, but go on. So, right when he gets close, yeah, he looks into the CGI baby's eyes and there's no other way to put this, but he starts having like sexual fantasies about her newborn baby. What the Yeah, mate, it's really fucking weird. But don't worry, they try and like class it up a bit by having the girl be about 18-ish in his fantasies. I guess that's slightly better, but that's still really, that's just fucking really weird, man. It's still not great. It's like he saw Edo being a massive pedo and he was like, here, hold my beer, mate. Okay, so I really don't think I should ask this, but what happens next? Well, then we cut to the Cullens who look like they're all about to get their dicks bitten off by the werewolves because they're all bloody surrounded. What about the women? I don't know, I guess they'd bite their flaps off or something? Makes sense. Anyways, Jacob jumps out of the window and transforms into a bloody wolf and he's like,
It's over.
Why? What's he gonna do? Well, here's the kicker. Edo goes,
He's imprinted on her. Whoever a wolf imprints on can't be hurt by other werewolves.
Imprinting? Isn't that like the werewolf equivalent of marriage? Yeah, that's right, mate. So this is kind of like the psychological equivalent of, again, I can't really say it, but it rhymes with grapes. Pretty much, yeah. So listen, a bunch of other stuff happens, but let's be honest, there's no coming back from this scene. No, there really isn't. So I'm just going to give you a super brief summary, okay? Please do.
The werewolves piss off because they can't kill the baby anymore. Bella is now sleeping on a bed.
Doesn't everyone think that she's dead? Yeah, they did, but now they don't.
Anyways, we get about 1 billion shots of everyone just waiting around her bed for her to wake up.
Because apparently when something happens to Bella, the whole fucking town just stops what they're doing and just stands still and waits. Kind of like everyone in this town doesn't have jobs or any lives of their own, you know? Yeah, true. Anyways, then she wakes up. Okay, then what? Absolutely nothing. That's the end of the movie. Are you fucking serious? Get this. She has red eyes. So what? Yeah, who cares? Do we honestly have to watch another movie to find out what happens next after she opens her eyes? Only if the audience comments below and forces us to do it like the dancing monkeys we are. Please don't.
What the f?
What would you say if I told you I just watched a movie that ends in a terrible CGI battle with a plot twist that makes the entire story of the franchise utterly pointless? I'd say it sounds like you've just watched another Twilight movie. You bloody know it, mate. Here.
Grab a beer, you'll need one for this, trust me. Jesus Christ, all right then. So this movie kicks off right where the last one ended, with Bella's eyes flicking open after everyone thought she was more dead than the Fast and the Furious franchise.
We're in outer space!
I mean, no one actually thought she was dead. She's the main character of the franchise, but go on. Yeah, I know, it was the worst fake out I've ever seen. But get this, mate, her eyes are red now. So? Well, it means she's either been up sniffing glue all night, or she's a bloody vampire now, isn't she? Shh. Jacob isn't going to be happy. Nah, he's weirdly cool with it all of a sudden. But we'll get to that train wreck later. First off, we see Bella tripping out, and she's looking at all the microscopic fibres on her rug. Ugh, sounds like maybe she has been sniffing glue. Nah, mate, turns out this is her new vampire vision. And it's just like Bradley Cooper's Limitless pill, because she starts seeing the world in slow motion. She's seeing individual dust particles flying through the air, dirt in the carpet fibres. She can see it all. Wait, so the first thing she does with her new powers is to notice how dirty the house is? Yeah, that's right, mate. Feels like a bit of a stereotypical portrait of a woman, don't you think? Yeah, but this was written by a woman, so I think chicks are totally fine being stereotyped by their own kind. All right, well, I guess that makes sense. Anyways, I'm pretty sure that Bradley Cooper's Limitless pill was just caffeine and pure MDMA laced with rat poison, because shit starts to take a turn real fast. I think you could be right about that pill. I haven't actually seen Bradley Cooper in a while, come to think of it. Maybe he's dead. Nah, mate, he's not dead, but his career sure is. After taking those pills, he's embracing his villain arc by playing Jor-El in James Gunn's Superman and lurking in Reddit forums, shadowboxing with Russian bots over political issues. Sounds just like my Uncle Danny. Yes, but unlike your Uncle Danny, he wasn't arrested for selling candy outside of local kindergartens. Hey, can we just get back to the movie, please? Oh yeah, right. So now Bella, she sees Edo, and her vampire vision is locked onto him like an American drone onto a poor civilian child in the Middle East. Too far, mate. Shut up. She's thirsting for him bad. That's my point, all right? Oh, so she's got the unquenchable vampire thirst now. Nah, she's thirsting for his sparkly vampire chode, isn't she? Gross. How the hell do you know it was a chode? Well, it's heavily implied, because whenever Bella takes off his pants, you can see that she's trying not to laugh right in Robert Pattinson's face. Anyways, she bloody grabs him, doesn't she? And he reckons that she's even more powerful than he is now. That makes no sense at all. Well, newly turned vampires are more powerful for some reason. Remember there was that whole subplot in Eclipse with that random guy Riley and his new blood vampire horde? You know, the guy we never learned anything about? Kind of blocked it out of my memory, if I'm honest. Yeah, good call. But apparently, she's even stronger than that guy now. You know, because she's the main character and everyone's obsessed with her for no reason at all, and the franchise wants us to believe that she's way hotter than Anna Kendrick. Oh yeah, that's right. Anyways, then Edo looks deep into her red eyes, and he's like,
"We're the same temperature now."
So? Well, remember how Bella hates cold things worse than Anakin Skywalker hates sand?
I don't like sand.
Yeah, that was a really weird character quirk. You bloody know it, mate. So now that she's finally awake, I bet you that the first thing she wants to do is meet her newborn baby, right? No, mate, of course not. She wants to go suck his little chode, and then go suck on some blood, and then go straight to the pokies, doesn't she? She's a terrible mother. Yeah, but you've seen what her mum was like, so she was never really going to be any better than that, was she? Yeah, true. She was pretty awful. Anyways, her and Edo the pedo go outside, and they do that really CGI fast running effect, and her MDMA starts hitting hard because she's like one with the forest now or something and can hear and see everything. She can see flowers blooming in slow motion, spiders weaving individual webs, and all the times that Trump removed his names from the Epstein files. Come on, man, that's old news. Well, that's exactly what all the rich pedos want you to think. And why the hell didn't they improve that running effect? We're 5 movies deep and they've all done pretty well at the box office. Clearly they've got the money. I think it was because all the studio executives wanted to buy their mistresses in Thailand Lamborghinis or something. Ah, right, that makes sense. Anyways, like I said before, the scene turns feral when Bella smells a bloke from a mile away who's rock climbing, and he's got a really sweaty ass crack. And Edo, he freaks out because he wanted Bella's first kill to be an animal. You know, because they're like vegan vampires. I mean, if they were vegan, wouldn't she have like tofu flavored blood or something terrible like that? Shut up, okie dokie. Anyways, she starts climbing up this cliff face, free solo style, desperate to get to this poor sweaty bloke, and Edo, he has to hit the nos just to try and keep up with her, to stop her from trying eating out that guy's ass. Gross. Anyways, Edo the pedo gets there just in time to stop her, doesn't he? And he's like,
"Stop, Bella! You can do this, Bella! You can do this!"
Oh my god, what am I doing? I have to like get out of here.
So that's it. What was the point of that scene? Well, after that, she wrestles a bloody mountain lion, doesn't she? And she bites right into its neck, getting her first official kill. I see what they did there. They didn't want her to eat a human or one of the actual cute animals, or the audience would probably turn against her. So they had her attack a predator that no one would really empathise with. Exactly, mate, which is a little bit racist, because apparently that mountain lion had adopted like 3 kids from an orphanage and pays like 80% of their income to charities just to fight off leukemia and kids. Hell. Yeah, I know, mate. She's a bloody menace, this Bella woman, isn't she? Anyways, next up we get the big scene. Bella finally meets Jacob in her vampire form. This better be good. He's been a full-on emo for like 4 films now because he's refused to let her become a vampire, so what does he do? Nah, mate, like I said before, he's totally chill about it now. You know, because he made werewolf love to Bella's newborn baby. Jesus Christ. Yeah, and he keeps on insisting that it's not creepy to try and imprint on an infant, but you can tell he's really trying to convince himself. Man, I just can't with this franchise. It's so fucking weird. You were right about needing this beer. Mate, I've got a few more because I know this ending is really gonna piss you off. All right, go on, do it. Next up, Edo's like,
"You wanna come meet our daughter, Bella?"
So they walk inside and everyone's standing around the baby like they've got nothing else to do with their time. And you'll never believe who's holding the bloody baby. Tim Allen? Nah, mate, it's bloody Rosalie and Jacob. How did Jacob get inside before her? No idea, but get this. Instead of using a real baby, they decided to waste thousands of dollars on a really terrible CGI one. Oh, for fuck's sake, why the hell would they do that? Because they really wanted to freak people out of having babies and lead to population decline, didn't they? I mean, I guess that's worked in Japan. You know it, mate. Anyways, Bella's weird bloody CGI baby pulls a Professor X on her and starts communicating with her telepathically like she's hooked up to Cerebro or something. What the hell? Yeah, mate. And don't you worry, they never explain how or why any of this is happening. Yeah, of course they don't. Anyways, Jacob, he starts to get antsy because he wants to hold Renesmee again. And he tries to take her back from Bella. Renesmee, what? Well, remember how Bella tried to compete with Elon Musk for the worst baby name on Earth? I still think Elon Musk wins that one. Yeah, that kid's probably going to get bullied for sure. Anyways, Bella cottons on to what's happening finally, and she looks pissed because she's realised that Jacob and his weird little furry red dog penis thing have imprinted on her newborn baby. Gross. So what does she do? Well, he tries to explain it again, saying how he doesn't have control over it and it's not what she thinks it is. But again, you can kind of tell he's really just trying to convince himself. So she grabs him around the scruff of the neck and drags him outside. Ah, I see what she did there, because he's a werewolf. Yeah, exactly. It's a terrible joke that doesn't really work at all. Anyway, she starts beating the shit out of him, doesn't she? Because she's a new school feminist who wants to prove that women can do domestic violence just as good as men can. And then another 2 wolves bloody emerge out of the bushes and jump on her, trying to save Jacob. Shh. Do they bite her neck and feast on her flesh? Nah, mate, because remember, she's the main character, and for some reason now she's the strongest vampire on Earth. So she goes Super Saiyan Ultra, and she starts throwing the wolves around like she's Russell Crowe, throwing that phone at the desk clerk in that hotel. She is pretty strong then, hey? Yeah, mate. Anyways, for some reason, Jacob has nicknamed her daughter Nessie, like the Loch Ness Monster, and this pisses off Bella even more. So she starts beating him unconscious. Why would he do that? Yeah, no idea, mate, but apparently that's what passes for humour in this franchise, so this joke really made me want to gouge my own eyes out with a rusty spoon. Jesus Christ, man. Anyways, after Bella beats the shit out of Jacob, she takes a piss on his open wounds, and then Alice tells Bella that they have a bloody surprise for her birthday. Wait, it's her birthday? F if I know, mate. It's Twilight, don't question it. Good points. So she hands Bella a big old-fashioned key. Interesting. Is this a key to like a secret vampire lair or something? Nah, mate, it's just like an old cottage in the woods. Apparently they built it for Edo and Bella because new vampire couples like to bang for months on end, and the other vampires don't want to have to invest in new earplugs again. No way they say that in the movie. Honestly, that's actually what happens in the movie. Jesus Christ. Yeah, then Edo, he pulls a fast one to Bella by saying that vampires only do anal and that lube is super offensive to their ancient vampire customs. Really? Well, no, but it is heavily implied because all the vampire women walk a little bit funny in this series. Gross. So what happens next? Well, Edo and Bella bang for ages. Yes, that actually happens. Then, either the next day or days later, the phone rings at the Cullens house and it's bloody Sea-Dog, Bella's dad. So they still haven't told him that she survived the last movie yet? No, mate, because the Cullens are total Ah, yeah, that's right. And then Carlisle Macaulay Culkin reveals that their plan is to leave town now that Bella is a vampire. What? But they just built her a house. Yeah, I know. Anyways, Jacob, who's really just trying to throw the spotlight off himself for imprinting on a newborn baby, says that he has an issue with the fact that they didn't tell him or Sea-Dog that they were going to leave town forever. So he says he'll be the one to break the news to him. So he's going to pretend that Bella is dead so that the Cullens can move town. Why? Nah, mate, because he totally bails on that idea as soon as he sees Sea Dog and just starts stripping down to his underpants, doesn't he? Okay, and why the hell is this happening? Well, the movie just wants us to think that he's going to transform in front of Bella's dad and tell him about all the weird vampire and werewolf shit in their town, which honestly anyone with half a brain could have figured out by now. Yeah, true. So does he transform and tell him? Nah, mate, he just him in the ass. Gross, that doesn't happen, does it? Well, no, but it's heavily implied because Sea Dog is looking at Jacob's crotch lump for a really long time. Trust me. Anyways, we cut back to the Cullens and they're super pissed because they thought it would be easier to pack up their entire life and move town rather than just tell Sea Dog that Bella was a vampire now. That doesn't really sound easier at all. Anyways, next he tells them that Sea Dog is on his way here. So next we have this scene where all the Cullens are sitting around trying to tell Bella how to act like a human and not a vampire so that she doesn't ruin their secret. Well, Bella didn't really act like a human even when she was one, so they've got their work cut out for them. You bloody know it, mate. Anyways, they tell her to remember that she has to pretend to breathe because apparently vampires don't do that, and that she's got to pretend to blink because apparently they don't do that either. Yeah, I'm pretty sure I've seen literally every other vampire in this series blink before. Yeah, I know, but Bella, she doesn't want to point that out because she was dropped on her head as a baby, and then Sea Dog finally rocks up. Does he freak out? Nah, he just accepts it straight away, which means her paranoia for the past 5 movies was totally unjustified, and then Edo brings in their weird CGI baby to show him. Oh, well, he'll definitely freak out now. Nah, mate, he's weirdly chill about this as well. I mean, first he thinks that Bella has found another baby dumpster diving again, but then he realizes that the CGI artists have tried to make the baby look like Kristen Stewart, so he sees that the baby is actually hers. Oh, can you stop showing that thing on screen? It's really freaking me out. Yeah, sorry, mate, I get ya. This baby has become my sleep paralysis demon for the past few weeks. It's horrifying. Anyways, because this movie has no idea what it wants to be or what tone it wants to hit, we cut to Bella testing out how strong she is by individually challenging all the Cullens to an arm wrestling match. What? It comes out of nowhere, but get this. Then we get a bloody montage of Renesmee or Nessie or whatever the f you want to call that hideous thing. Well, she's bloody aging faster than an Instagram model who's ruined her face with collagen injections and numerous filters. That's pretty fast. Yeah, I know, right? And the older this baby gets, the more freaky its CGI becomes. Dear God, when will this end? You might want to use a Valium to get to sleep from now on, or she'll come visit you every night like she does for me. Anyways, for some reason it's winter now, and Jacob and Bella are playing with little CGI out in the woods when Shannon from Lost spots her. And she is hella pissed. And why is she so pissed? Well, I think she's still pissed that they killed her character in season 2 of Lost, but I have no idea why they're taking it out on Bella and her kid like this. Anyways, then Shannon from Lost runs to the bloody Voltari to tell Michael Sheen about the baby. I thought that they already knew about the baby. Yeah, so did I, but apparently they didn't. I went to take a a few times during the last movie, so I may have missed a few things. Why were you so much? Because I'm almost 40 and like clockwork, my bowels have started their own WikiLeaks page in my pants. Gross. Anyway, she walks up to Michael Sheen, but Vecna stops her and asks her why she's here and why Netflix has decided to split Stranger Things season 5 into 3 parts. Because it's their only really good show now and people are going to have to subscribe for 3 pay cycles. Everyone knows that. Those cheap bastards. Anyways, then Shannon tells Michael Sheen that the Cullens have a weird vampire CGI baby thing, which is apparently a crime in the Voltari law. Why? Well, I had no idea at first because they don't even bloody explain it. So they just have Michael Sheen say, "Oh my." Okay, what the hell does he mean by that? Yeah, no idea, mate. Then we cut back to the Cullens and Alice has one of her conveniently timed visions where she sees the Voltari come to attack them. And she tells the Cullens that the writers of the film couldn't be bothered coming up with a better way for the Cullens to find out about this information, so they wrote this. Sounds pretty lazy to me. Oh, it's super lazy. Anyways, then Edo asks exactly what Shannon from Lost saw when they were out in the woods. And then Bella tells him that she saw their weird CGI kid thing and that she thought that maybe she was upset that the budget of the film was actually going to pay for the producer's Thailand mistresses. Yeah, I mean, she's got a point there. Yeah, but then Edo tells Bella to just shut the f up because he thinks that Shannon from Lost thinks that Renesmee is an immortal child. Well, she's a vampire, isn't she? She kind of already is. Yeah, I mean, she totally is, but apparently an immortal child is something different, so next up we have Carlisle Macaulay Culkin pulling out an ancient scroll, and he gives us a bit of a lore dump explaining the history of the immortal children. This better be bloody good because so far this movie's been more painful than having sex with a cheese grater. Well, I'm not going to lie to you, mate, it doesn't really get any better than this, but you do get some epic battle scenes and deaths coming up, so stay tuned for that. For f***'s sake, come on then, tell me about these immortal children. Well, apparently immortal children, when they are turned into vampires, they kind of run rabbit and they're a bit uncontrollable, so they risked exposing the vampire's secret to the whole world. I still don't get why they need to keep it a secret. Yeah, I know. And in all 5 movies, they've never even explained why. And we all know that anyone with half a brain could have figured it out because the vampires are walking around sparkling in the fucking sunshine. God, what the hell even are these films? Anyways, then we see Dakota Fanning kill a little kid. Jesus Christ. Yeah, and then Shannon from Lost starts crying because apparently her mum was the one who created that immortal child. So the Voltari rip her bloody head off, don't they? What? So Shannon from Lost's mum was killed for making an immortal child? Why would she rat out someone else for doing it then? Surely that would make her like more sympathetic to their cause. Well, yeah, that would be the logical arc for her character, but instead they went with this, which makes no sense at all. Ah, I see. Anyways, then Bella is like, oh my God, Renesmee is nothing like those children. She was born, not bitten. And then Jacob is like,
why can't we just explain that she isn't an immortal child to the Ataris?
It's Voltari, Jacob.
Oh, yeah, right, sorry.
Then Carlisle is like,
well, we can't do that, can we? Because then we wouldn't have any plot for the rest of the movie.
So then Jacob's like,
then I guess we fight.
I am totally lost, if I'm honest with you. Why would fighting be the next best option? Yeah, that's fair. I think all the actors were trying to make sense of their lines too, so you can see them really struggling to make sense of what's even going on in this scene. Yeah, that's true. They do all look pretty confused. Anyways, then Carlisle comes up with the most cooked plan ever and suggests that they travel around the world and get Renesmee to do her weird Professor X mind reading thing on other vampires and show them the truth. That way, when the Voltari come, they'll have enough witnesses of the truth so that they can stop any need for a conflict. That is needlessly complicated. Don't you know it, mate? Also, how do they plan to travel around the entire world in the same amount of time it'll take the Voltari to come straight to their house? Well, here's the best part about that plan. They never explain that part and hope that you're not smart enough to think of that. Oh, for f***'s sake. So, next we cut to Bella, Edward and Jacob driving up the snowy mountains to try and convince Brian Moser from Dexter and his family that their CGI baby isn't one of those weird immortal baby things, even though their baby is immortal anyway. So they're driving by car. This plan just got even worse. They can run faster than cars. Yeah, mate, they fucked it up big time. Anyways, we cut to inside the car where Nessie, or whatever the fuck she's called, is worried that Brian Moser from Dexter won't like her. So Jacob and Bella try to cheer her up. What if they don't like me? Oh my God, they will love you once they understand you.
I mean, sure, you're like a weird CGI baby thing that haunts my nightmares, but your personality is way better than your mother's.
Jacob!
Sorry, it's true.
Anyways, then CGI Kid does her Professor X thing and they try and convince Brian Moser that he probably shouldn't do any more cameos in Dexter because every time they do flashbacks or show him as a ghost, it kind of tarnishes the legacy of his character. Yeah, that's true. They can't really seem to move past his character, can they? Why'd you kill him in season 1 if you just plan to harp on about him for the next 15 years? Anyways, next up they go to some vaguely Middle Eastern country and they meet a vampire who's able to manipulate water, earth, air and fire, played by Mr. Robot. Wait, what? So Twilight is ripping off Avatar: The Last Airbender now? Oh yeah, they ripped it off big time. After the series was a huge hit, Stephanie Meyers got even more greedy and thought, I want some of that Avatar money too. Oh, for f***. This franchise's lore is like an Allen's mixed bag of lollies. Only one of the flavours is any good and the rest of them are absolutely shit. Yeah, exactly, mate, and they still charge full prices for the bag. Anyways, then they Avengers assemble a bunch of other vampires we don't care about, including a guy who's clearly supposed to be a rip-off of X-Men's Gambit, some racial stereotypes of Amazonian warriors, and 2 guys who look like puppets from Geppetto's workshop. Are any of these characters going to be important to the plot at all? Of course not, mate, but the movie insists on wasting our time by meeting all of them individually. Anyways, then it's revealed that Alice and Jasper have bloody legged it, haven't they? What? But I thought she was supposed to be Bella's best friend. Yeah, I know. So there's a genuine mystery as to where she's gone and why she would disappear when Bella needs her the most. Interesting. I actually like this plot point. I hope they go somewhere interesting with it. Well, don't get too excited because Alice leaves like a note for Bella that she finds about a scene later, explaining that she's left to find information that might help them convince the Voltari not to fight. Ah, well, that's disappointing. It sure is, mate. And to make it even worse, she says she had to leave because she didn't want to risk the Voltari reading people's minds to know she'd gone, even though they'd be able to tell she wasn't there just by using their eyes. So they made up a complicated explanation for a plot point that didn't really need to be explained. Yeah, exactly. Sounds like Twilight to me. Come on, hurry up, I'm running out of beer. Yeah, fair enough. So now that the Avengers have assembled, they decide that they should probably train, just in case the Voltari decide not to listen. Speaking of the Voltari, we get a random scene where they attack a Japanese guy in a back alleyway. So a bunch of pasty white guys attack a Japanese man in a back alleyway. Sounds unintentionally racist to me. I mean, I feel like it's deliberately racist. Anyways, the point of this scene is Michael Sheen reads his mind and finds out that Carlisle and the Cullens know they're coming. But they already know that. Shannon from Lost knows Bella and Jacob saw her run for the bloody Voltari. Yeah, exactly. So it's just another totally pointless scene then. You better believe it is. But what's even worse is before Michael Sheen kills the guy, he does like this really racist impersonation of him by holding some chopsticks and then sellotaping his eyes sideways to make them appear smaller. Jesus Christ, there's no way he does that. Well, no, but it's heavily implied because it's Twilight and they're not really afraid of racially stereotyping just about everyone in the show. Yeah, true. So what happens next? Well, next up we cut to the Avengers all training to fight. I mean, normally I'd be excited by some cool action scenes, but I know this movie's just gonna let me down. Of course it will. We don't even get poorly choreographed fight scenes. We just get some random blonde chick who's standing around, who can apparently shoot electricity from her hands like she's Static Shock or something, and she's trying to train Bella on how to use her new abilities as a shield. The shield? What the hell is that? Apparently she can protect people with the power of her mind, and rather than discovering this in some cool way, we just have the characters tell us that she's a shield and what it means to be a shield. I smell some lazy writing. Oh, it stinks way worse than your jocks do, mate. Hey, why the hell have you been smelling my jocks?
Why have you been smelling my jocks?
That's what you sound like. All right, what happens next? Does she master her powers and become an agent of S.H.I.E.L.D. or something? Nah, mate, she f***ed it up worse than Ray Gun did when she got her big chance to breakdance for Australia at the Olympics. Oh, damn, she's royally f***ed that up then. Yeah, you better believe it, mate. Anyways, now some of the Avengers are finally starting to question the plan because it's shit. And they're saying that they didn't actually come here to fight, but didn't they just have a training montage practicing how to fight? Yeah, they did, but apparently they forgot about that already. Anyways, Bella, she reads the note from Alice again, which she hid in one of those Shakespeare books Bella keeps in a prominent place on her bookshelf, you know, to make herself look more intelligent, even though you can tell she doesn't even really understand them or has never really read them all the way through. I hate people that do that. Yeah, me too. Anyways, apparently Alice has made Jacob and Renesmee some fake passports in case shit with the Voltari goes pear-shaped. So wait, Alice's backup plan is to have Bella's weird CGI child leave the country with a sex pest who imprinted on a newborn baby. Yep, that's exactly what her plan is. That's even worse than Carlisle's plan. Yeah, the Cullens aren't great with plans, are they? Even ChatGPT could write a better plan than this. For sake, I'm running out of beer, hurry up. Yeah, I should have bought more, sorry. Anyways, Bella starts writing a letter to Nessie Renesmee, or whatever the f her name is, and she's like, "Oh my god, dear Renesmee, I know we thought we'd have more time together, but in all honesty, your face is really scaring everyone. Maybe you can come back again in the future when the producers have finished paying off their mistresses' Lamborghinis. But for now, I think it's best if you leave with Jacob and never come back." Anyways, it's not just Bella second-guessing her life choices. Edo the pedo's having a chinwag with old mate Carlisle right outside the tent. They're camping now, apparently. I'm not even gonna ask you about that one. Good choice, you won't like the answer. Anyways, Edo's like,
I can't help but feel like the Avengers are all putting their lives on the line unnecessarily, all because I decided to stalk and have sex with an underage schoolgirl in the first Twilight movie.
Yes, well, that wasn't your finest hour, chap. But chin up, we can see our way through this. We always do. Feels like they're really trying to wrap things up quickly. Yeah, they are, and they're doing a terrible job of it. Anyways, this is it, right? The big day is finally upon us. The Voltari have arrived, and they've conveniently arrived on a barren winter snowfield that's clearly just a green screen that was rendered really cheaply in Bangladesh. Wouldn't it have been cheaper just to film in an actual field? Yeah, you'd think so, but the producers had all taken mysterious trips to Thailand that week, and they all came back really sweaty, so they wanted to do this via Skype in the studio. Jesus Christ. So here we have it. Jacob and his wolf pack are standing alongside the Cullens and their weird vampire Avengers Infinity War, ready to face Michael Sheen and the Voltari head on. Why the hell did the author spend so much time building up the war between werewolves and vampires if they were just going to sideline it to make the Voltari the final boss battle? Well, apparently it was because Stephanie Myers used to write these novels while she was smoking ice, and she barely remembered what she wrote the previous day, let alone 3 books ago. Ah, okay, I guess that makes sense. So, after both sides stand in a perfect line staring at each other for a while, Carlisle decides he'll be the one to speak, so he walks forward slightly and says,
Michael Sheen, let us discuss things, like we used to. This child is not an immortal. She may be weird as f***, but no laws have been broken here.
Which is a really weird scene because they begin to have an extended conversation in normal indoor speaking voices, even though they're like 100 yards away from each other. No idea. Anyways, Michael Sheen, he isn't having it, is he? He demands Edo come all the way over here to him. And this is the dramatic moment because Edo looks to Bella like this might be the last time he ever sees her. So they're going to kill Edo. No, of course not, mate. This is Twilight. There's never any stakes for any of the main cast. So Michael Sheen holds Edo's hand and he reads his mind because apparently he has those Professor X powers too. And you can see his expression change immediately. He finally knows the truth. Interesting. Okay, I'm invested again. So he goes,
I'd like to meet her.
And then Bella, she realises he's talking about Nesme, and she walks all the way over to him with Jacob and Emmett walking by her side. Like those two guys are actually going to make any difference against an entire army. Not a great plan. Anyways, this is when shit starts to hit the fan because Michael Sheen now realises that the Voltari have legged it all the way across the planet for no reason, when an email probably would have been sufficient, so he's pissed off. So he calls out Shannon from Lost and she admits that she's f***ed up. Snap, so what does Michael Sheen do? Oh, nothing, mate. He lets Vecna and his mates rip her bloody arms and head off, and then he burns her corpse. Jesus Christ! I know, right? Anyways, Brian Moses' family were apparently Shannon's cousins. Remember how they all came to the wedding together? No, not really. Fair enough. Well, they are. So all the women of the family start to freak out seeing this, and they start trying to charge at the Voltari. But all the men hold them back and tell them that it must be that time of the month, which only pisses them off even more because that's the one thing you're never supposed to say, even when you know it's true. Yeah, you do not want to go near that one. Anyways, they manage to calm all the women down, which pisses Michael Sheen off, because he was actually trying to bait the Cullens into a fight. So then Dakota Fanning gets pissed off that she hasn't had anything to do yet, so Michael Sheen lets her use the Crucio curse on Edo. And he starts bloody screaming, doesn't he? Shh. So does Edo die? Nah, mate, because Bella finally figures out how to use her Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. power. And she manages to protect him with like a weird CGI see-through curtain thing, doesn't she? That's a little bit convenient. It sure is, mate. Anyways, get this. Two random figures walk out of the woods in the middle of nowhere, and everyone somehow knows without looking at them that it's bloody Alice and Jasper, like she's bloody Goku powering up and coming to the battle late as always or something. Yeah, that's weird. Let me guess, they never explain how everyone suddenly knows it's her, or how she was able to find them at a random location in the middle of a forest. You guessed it, mate. Hell, I hate this movie. Anyways, she's gathered the evidence she went all the way across the planet to look for, hasn't she? And she shows it to Michael Sheen and Vecna. And Jasper, he doesn't like Alice being so close to him, because remember how Michael Sheen made that show Masters of Sex, and he's worried that he might find her G-spot as well. Gross. Anyways, then one of Michael Sheen's goons really lightly bitch slaps Jasper for no reason at all, and then Alice allows Michael Sheen to read her mind Professor X style and see what she's found. Okay, what has she found? This better be good. Well, we never actually find out, mate, because Alice starts monologuing straight to camera, telling the audience that Michael Sheen never cared what evidence they had. He's come all the way across the planet just to fight him. Yeah, but wouldn't she have seen that that was exactly what was going to happen in her vision, though? Yeah, probably. Then why did she travel halfway around the world and ditch everyone? No clue. Anyways, Alice turns to Bella, who's now all the way back on the other side of the field for some reason, and she whispers, "Now." And then Jacob and the weird CGI kid, they leg it into the forest with their fake passports. Then Alice, she does like this epic Liu Kang style kick, launching Michael Sheen like 1,000 kilometers into the air. He's not gonna like that. Nah, he doesn't at all, mate. So Carlisle, he legs it towards Michael Sheen and he tries to save Alice from the Voltari. But you're never gonna believe this. Someone else walks out of the forest with new plot-changing information again? Nah, mate, not even Twilight's bold enough to pull that stunt again. Phew, well, that would have been really Michael Sheen rips Carlisle's bloody head off. Not Carlisle, he's like my 11th favourite character. I know, right? And the Cullens, they're livid. So now it's on like Donkey Kong, and Michael Sheen's got in the battle that he actually secretly came here for. Okay, this is actually interesting now. There's actually some stakes. So like I said, don't get your hopes up too much, but there is some cool CGI happening here. Okay, like what? Well, we get one of those cliche scenes that they did in the other movie where everyone just kind of runs at each other in a straight line for what seems like 3 years. That is not cool at all. It's not. But then they finally reach each other and you see Jacob's werewolves start tearing off Voltari heads. Nice one. And then Dakota Fanning, she starts using her psychic powers to immobilize Jasper, who's supposed to be like their strongest warrior, so you know the Cullens are fucked. So how does he get out of this one? He doesn't. She immobilizes him and then Vecna and his mates rip his bloody head off. Then they kill a werewolf as well, and it's a big deal for some reason, even though we as the audience have no idea which werewolf it was or why we should even care. Yeah, the artists have really done a terrible job at making the wolves look unique, haven't they? Yeah, it's Disney's The Lion King remake all over again. Anyways, the Cullens and the werewolves are getting their asses pummeled worse than Riley Reid in a Black.com video, so Mr. Robot finally makes his move and uses his IP-infringing avatar powers. What does he do? Something awesome, I bet. He splits the whole battlefield in half, and everyone falls into the giant canyon, even people on his own side. What the fuck? How the hell was that going to help anyone? Yeah, no idea. Anyways, then Edo somehow manages to fly out of the giant canyon like he's Neo at the end of the first Matrix film when he learns to fly, and he starts ripping heads off. And then Alice throws Dakota Fanning to the wolves and they rip her bloody head off. So many heads are being ripped off. Oh no, mate, I've lost count. Anyways, Vecna gets his head ripped off too. And then the Voltari realise they've only bloody lost the battle, haven't they? So did they give up? Nah, mate, Michael Sheen, he's not giving up that easy, is he? He tries to solo Bella and Edo together, which is a big mistake because they're using cheat codes and they've overclocked Bella's character big time. So Bella, she grabs him and holds his neck while Edo does a Liu Kang flying kick and let me guess, he rips his head off. Yeah, I guess it was pretty obvious that that was going to happen. Anyways, to really rub in their victory, they burn his corpse and then piss on the ashes. Jesus, that's a bit too far. Yeah, I know, and it's really smelly piss too because neither of them drank any water before the battle, so it's all dark yellow and super smelly. Gross. And this is where the film really jumps the shark. Oh no, what have they done now? Remember how at the beginning of the video for retention I said that there was a plot twist that makes the whole franchise entirely pointless? Yeah, kind of. Well, this is it. We reveal that the battle never took place. Alice pulled a Jedi mind trick on Michael Sheen and showed him that if he ever did decide to attack the Cullens, that they would lose. Wait, so none of that actually happened? Nope, none of it happened. That is bull. I know, and to make it worse, she could have literally done this at any point in any of the movies. So the Voltari, they were never a threat at all, were they? That might be the single worst plot point I've seen in a movie ever. Well, I'd argue that Princess Leia doing a Mary Poppins in space in The Last Jedi was worse, but this is a close second, mate. So that's it. The movie's over? Oh, not yet, mate. See, Alice has one more trick up her sleeve. She's smiling, watching Bella and Jacob talk after the battle, and they're talking about how Jacob's basically in the friend zone now for the rest of his life. And then, with Alice's powers, she projects all the way into the future. And we see Renesmee as a full-grown woman living happily ever after with Bella and Edo and Jacob, who's still in the friend zone, on a beach. Seriously, that actually happens? Yep, seriously. And to make it worse, they still CGI the girl's face, even though she's a full-grown adult now. Why? That is so unnecessary. You've really got to stop asking those questions, mate. This is Twilight, and the one rule in Twilight is there are no rules. Or is it that you don't talk about Twilight? I don't know. And then, just when you think the movie's over, it ends again with a montage where Bella is using her secret powers to show Edo a montage of their whole life together over the past 5 films. This movie has more endings than The Lord of the Rings. Oh, those movies are fucking great. We should have watched them instead. Yeah, that's true. Why didn't we? Yeah, maybe next time. Video's over. Piss off.